known as the god of death of Konoha. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, The First Day of Child Abuse. Bai Yu was jealous, but he never thought that his Dharma Eye could capture souls, refine the chakra of tailed beasts, observe the three realms, plunder the vitality between heaven and earth, and also have a powerful pupil technique. How shameless, even jealous of his own children. But this is all a joke. Bai Yu is still very happy that Bai Yu and Baiki have such abilities. Bai Yu, who was relieved, smiled with satisfaction. He smiled at the three-word spirits and said, "Everything is a foregone conclusion. Baiki, your master, is kind and steady. Although he is still a little naive now, he will definitely be an outstanding elite in the future. Do you three have names?" "No adults yet," the three-word spirits said honestly. "Well, as the father of your master, I will name you today. Are you willing?" Bai Yu said with a beta aura. "We are willing." When the three-word spirits heard that they were going to have names, they said in unison with great joy, "Okay. Today I will name you with the three characters of heaven, earth and man. You have the ability to find people and things and seal spirits like the world. You are called Chanling. You have the ability to be unpredictable and change everything in the world. You are called Dialing. You have a strong fighting power and fight for my son. You are called Ringling. Do you agree?" After Bai Yu finished speaking, a string of words popped up in his mind. Lingling, Delingling, Rinlingling, come out and listen to the order. For a moment, Bai Yu was a little embarrassed and wanted to touch his forehead. However, the three words were full of joy in their eyes. "Thank you for the name, sir. We will do our best in the future and wait for the master's orders." Shineling, Dialing, and Rinling said happily, "Okay, then I'm leaving." Bai Yu looked at the three words and looked very happy. He didn't say anything, but took back his power because Bai Yu already felt that Baiki couldn't hold on. Bai Yu saw Baiki's weak appearance and waved a healing green light. Bai Yu was Bai Yu's father, and he didn't even have the ability, so Bai Yu would doubt it. After being baptized by the light, Baiki regained his original spirit and said to Bai Yu with a smile, "Silly boy. Your ability is to control the word spirits. You must treat them well in the future. They are great. Each of them is a word spirit with special skills." Bai Yu touched Baiki's head and said with a smile, "Dad, what is a word spirit? Is it really like what Aunt Kushina said? Can it be used to seal at will?" Baiki suddenly thought of what Kushina said that day and asked curiously, "Dad, you look at Joa first. Tell Joa first what Joa's ability is." Bai Yu tilted her little head and saw Bai Yu talking to her brother first and immediately pouted and said dissatisfiedly. Baiki did not speak but looked at his sister dotingly. Bai Yu also smiled lovingly and said, "Okay, talk about Joa first." Bai Yu immediately threw herself into Bai Yu's arms and smiled sweetly when she heard this. Baiki showed a trace of envy when he saw this, but Baiki knew that he was a boy and could not act like a little girl like his sister. The careful Bai Yu naturally noticed Baiki's changes, but Bai Yu's eyes showed a hint of approval for Baiki's reaction. "This is my son," Bai Yu said in his heart. Then, Bai Yu put Bai Yu on his left leg, stopped little Baiki with his right hand, and put it on his right leg. Feeling the warmth in his father's arms, Baiki felt a sense of security. Children need the protection of their fathers to not lack a sense of security in the arms of their mothers. That's called spoiling. Joa's ability is healing and erosion. However, now Joa can only master a little healing ability. Joa must work hard. Bai Yu said lovingly. "Well, Joa knows. Daddy, tell me about your brother." Bai Yu smiled sweetly and said softly, "Kia's ability is more complicated. Kia can control three words. I just named the three words. Shineling, according to the opportunity." Bai Yu told Baiki about his ability very seriously and in detail. With Baiki's intelligence, his memory and comprehension are very strong, so they quickly absorbed the knowledge. Bai Yu said, "Come to think of it, you and your sister are going to the ninja school soon. When you go to the ninja school, you can make a lot of friends. However, as a ninja, you also have to work hard to improve your strength. Do you want to improve your strength? Bai Yu said patiently. Yes. What surprised Bai Yu was that the two siblings answered so firmly and quickly. Last time I saw my father injured and heard the uncles and aunts chatting, Kyo thought in his heart that if Kyo's strength was strong enough, he could protect you, Dad. Beiki clenched his fists and frowned. Yes, I felt so uncomfortable when I felt the pain coming from Dad's body before. If Jo's healing ability was stronger, I could heal Dad quickly, and Dad wouldn't have to lie down for so long. Bai Yu frowned and said with a pout. Hearing the words of the two little guys, although their voices were childish, the serious and determined look on their innocent faces made Bai Yu smile like a loving father. The feeling of being cared for and being filial to his children was really satisfying. Then you have to work hard. It's too early for you to protect your daddy. However, you have to work hard to go to the ninja school. I heard that Uchiha Itachi from your uncle Fugaku's family is very outstanding. He is very strong. You must take him as an example and work hard to become a powerful ninja. Bai Yu said lovingly. Don't worry, Daddy. We are definitely the best. Beiki and Bai Yu said in unison. Daddy believes in you. But there is one thing you have to remember. No matter how strong you are, you must be polite and humble. People cannot be proud and complacent, but they must have pride. Bai Yu said he didn't want his children to become dandies. Daddy, what does it mean to be proud and complacent? Why can't people be? What is pride? Bai Yu blinked twice and asked in confusion. Bai Yu pursed his lips and said nothing. Dad, don't worry. Although we don't know what you mean, we remember what you said. We will listen to you and do it. Beiki said firmly. Bai Yu was really relieved to hear Beiki's words. Exclamation mark. Bai Yu, this silly girl. Okay, next, Dad will take Jo and Kyo to practice every day. But Dad is very serious and strict when training. Can you persist? Don't cry in front of Dad. Bai Yu frowned and asked. I won't cry. Don't look down on me. I stopped crying when I was 1 year old. Bai Yu said proudly. Bai Yu smiled when he heard it. Didn't he stop crying last year? He was still 1 year old. But children speak without restraint, so Bai Yu didn't take it seriously. Don't worry, Dad. I will persist. Beiki didn't say anything big, just said that he could persist. This made Bai Yu very appreciative. You can brag when you have strength, and Beiki did a good job in this regard. However, Bai Yu still had a good day with Beiki and Bai Yu, and also took the two little ones to the Konoha amusement park. But starting tomorrow, TSK. Chapter 202 Beiki and Bai Yu's training. Good talents should be cultivated from childhood. First, Bai Yu took Beiki and Bai Yu to play for a day. Early the next morning, Bai Yu took Beiki and Bai Yu to start the training journey. There were less than 4 months before the registration for the ninja school, so Bai Yu decided to train Beiki and Bai Yu severely. But Bai Yu did not tell Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto. Why? Bai Yu was afraid of being beaten to death by the two girls. Bai Yu took Beiki and Bai Yu out of the house and came to the dragon group base. He left a sticky note, which read Tsunade, Makoto, I took Beiki and Bai Yu to practice. Come back before you give birth in 2 months. When they arrived at the dragon group base, Bai Yu looked at Beiki and Bai Yu very formally and seriously and said, tell daddy, can you face the very scary training? Can you not shed a tear during training? Can you persist in training until the end? We can. Beiki and Bai Yu said firmly with their chests puffed out. Okay, then don't blame daddy. Bai Yu looked at the two tender little faces, said in his heart, and gritted his teeth. Throw the two little guys up. Throw them to the training ground in the dragon group base where new recruits are trained. Of course, throw them into the mud pond. If they are thrown to the ground, even if the two little guys don't die, they will most likely be useless. Daddy, what are you doing? Why are you throwing Joa? Bai Yu's eyes were red, and her aggrieved look made Bai Yu feel pain in his heart. The training has already begun. If you can't stand it, you can go home. Bai Yu gritted his teeth, turned his head away, and said seriously, then you should say something. Daddy. Stinky daddy. Bad daddy. Humph. Bai Yu ignored the mud on his body, hugged his little hands in front of his chest, and said with dissatisfaction with a pout. This is a training ground, not at home. From now on, I will treat you as a qualified ninja and require you to treat yourself as an excellent ninja. Otherwise, go home. Don't embarrass my dragon group again. Bai Yu scolded sternly. I know, Daddy. Bai Yu had a firm face, which made Bai Yu like him very much. Although Bai Yu pouted, she did not quit the dormitory. Moreover, as a girl, Bai Yu could do this, which surprised Bai Yu. She is worthy of being my child. Bai Yu was secretly proud of himself. After giving Bai Yu and Bai Yu a spiritual training, Bai Yu took the two children to clean up, and then took Bai Yu and Bai Yu to a room to explain the basic knowledge of ninja and based Daffa to the two children. How could Bai Yu let his children overdraw their potential? Of course, in one day, even if the two children are smart, it is impossible for them to fully understand Bai's Daffa. But Bai Yu is not in a hurry. Bai Yu and Bai Yu's performance is already very good, except that they do not understand Bai's Daffa. The two children remember the basic knowledge of ninja very well. On the second day, Bai Yu explained the basic knowledge of ninjutsu and medical ninjutsu to Bai Yu and Bai Yu, and Bai's Daffa. On the third day, Bai Yu took the two children directly to start actual combat. In terms of physical skills, Bai Yu had already taken the essence of the martial arts of the great powers he knew, and discarded the dross, such as the inch of gold of Wing Chun, the force of Bajikuen, the 4 ounces of Taijikuen, and so on. This is boxing, and there are also leg techniques, palm techniques, grappling techniques, etc. Of course, Bai Yu was very proud to name these a Bai brand. Bai's boxing, Bai's leg techniques and so on. In short, it is very shameless. Moreover, Bai Yu was not stingy. As long as Bai Yu knew the 18 weapons, he summarized them and then taught Bai Yu and Bai Yu one by one. Of course, although Bai Yu knew them, Bai Yu preferred to use the sword. Unfortunately, his own Bai Yu sword, Thinking of this, Bai Yu couldn't help but feel a little blocked in his heart. What surprised Bai Yu was that when he showed his spear skills, Bai Yu immediately shouted, "Daddy, I want to learn this!" I want to learn this. Among the hundreds of weapons, the spear is the king of weapons. But Bai Yu did not stop it. Only if you like it can you persist and practice it with your heart. So Bai Yu gave Bai Yu the 81 styles of base spearmanship, and asked the Dragon Group's ninja tool department to forge 2 low-level spears, 1 acceptable spear, and 1 made of top-grade materials. However, Bai Yu did not tell Bai Yu that the acceptable spear was something that Bai Yu planned to give to Bai Yu after he went to the ninja school. Looking at the little Bai Yu holding a spear that was 2.5 body lengths taller than him, Bai Yu wanted to laugh a little, but although Bai Yu was small, he was very strong. The nearly 3-meter long spear was wielded in his hand with great vigor, quite like the style of an ancient general. Bai Yu liked swordsmanship, so Bai Yu gave Bai Yu his signature swordsmanship. Of course, the name of the Bai swordsmanship was chosen on the spot. Although the moves were already proficient, Bai Yu was too lazy to give it a name. However, this time, instead of forging 2 low-level double-edged swords, he forged a low-level double-edged sword, a reasonable sword, and a sword made of top-grade materials. There is also a long sword, which must not only be made of top-grade materials, but also tempered 48 times. Moreover, this time Bai Yu plans to follow the last process of sword making that he saw in the ancient books in his previous life. Find a spiritual beast with intelligence and awaken the sword to produce the spirit of the weapon! Finally, add his own blood to thoroughly temper it. It is said that a spiritual sword with intelligence can be made, and the toughness and spirituality of the spiritual sword can be improved with the nourishment of mana. It's not that Bai Yu doesn't make it for Bai Yu and Bai Yu, but Bai Yu himself doesn't know if he can succeed. If he can succeed, Bai Yu will definitely make one for the two children. Time passed by little. From the initial spiritual baptism, to the theoretical knowledge learning, to the physical training, and then to the hidden weapon training, Bai Yu and Bai Yu have become more mature and tough. Although their faces are still childish, their minds and temperaments have long been trained by Bai Yu far beyond children of the same age. Of course, Bai Yu did not rush to teach the two children ninjutsu, but gave them the most basic substitute technique, clone technique, and transformation technique. Moreover, Bai Yu also gave the two children a detailed explanation of ninjutsu, which was summarized by Bai Yu himself and passed down completely by word of mouth, because Bai Yu was too lazy to organize it into paper. Beiki and Baiyao expressed their helplessness about their father's laziness, but the two of them did not really rely on listening to learn. As the saying goes, a good memory is not as good as a bad pen. The two took notes very seriously. This made Bai Yu very satisfied with the two children. The day was about to be 2 months, and Bai Yu found Beiki and Baiyao and whispered, "You have practiced well. I declare that your practice time will end early." Bai Yu said very lovingly, "Really, Daddy?" Although Baiyao was a little unconvinced, he still happily threw himself into Bai Yu's arms. Seeing this, Bai Yu laughed and put Beiki and Baiyao on his legs. Once again feeling the greatness of their father, Beiki and Baiyao felt a sense of security in their hearts. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, a brief talk between brother and sister. You will soon have a brother or sister, or both. Are you happy? Bai Yu said with a smile. Really, Dad? Beiki was stunned when he heard this. Really? Bai Yu replied. If it's true, I, Beiki, will definitely protect my brothers and sisters. Beiki said firmly. Jo will be like a brother. Protect brothers and sisters. Baiyao also clenched her fists and imitated Beiki. Haha. Good. You are worthy of my son and daughter. Let's go home. Bai Yu held Beiki and Baiyao and left the dragon group base, rushing home quickly. This time, it was not that the two of them were pregnant at the same time, but Tsunade was pregnant 1 month before Uchiha Mikoto. So Tsunade should be about to give birth at this time. Sure enough, when I got home, I didn't see Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto, so Bai Yu took Beiki and Baiyao to the hospital. Bai Yu held Beiki and Baiyao on the left and right. When the medical ninja saw Bai Yu, he immediately thought that Bai Yu should come to visit Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto. So without waiting for Bai Yu to speak, he went up to tell Bai Yu the ward where Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto were. Bai Yu smiled and thanked him, took Beiki and Baiyao, and walked to the ward. This is a double ward. Uchiha Mikoto and Tsunade were lying on the bed on the left and right. Baking Cheng sat in the middle of the two beds. I'm back with Kira and Joa. Bai Yu said with a smile. You still know how to come back. You really can't come earlier. Baking Cheng rolled her eyes at Bai Yu. During this period, Baking Cheng directly brought Uchiha Mikoto to the hospital for easy care. After all, Uchiha Mikoto is going to give birth in a month. Hey, I'm not afraid that Kira and Joa will go to the ninja school in a while and be bullied. Let's practice with them in advance. Bai Yu said, looking at Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto who were sleeping. King Cheng, how are Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto? Bai Yu asked with concern. The two sisters-in-law are very healthy. Don't worry. Baking Cheng said unhappily. Bai Yu smiled. Kira, Joa, you two stay here with your mother. I'm going to talk to your aunt about something. King Cheng, come with me. Bai Yu said, and walked out of the ward. Seeing this, Baking Cheng rolled her eyes and followed him out helplessly. Beiki and Baiyao sat on the hospital bed very professionally, one on the left and one on the right, practicing the Bai family's magic. Tell me, what's wrong? As soon as Baking Cheng left the ward, she saw Bai Yu facing the window. His face was not very good. He frowned and asked, do you know who the powerful Laura was last time? Bai Yu asked lightly. It's a little familiar, but I don't know who it is. Baking Cheng replied. Black Dragon Wushan. Bai Yu said with a gloomy face. What? Baking Cheng's pupils suddenly contracted when he heard these 4 words. I lost. Just one strike. Just one strike. Bai Yu squeezed out these words from his teeth. Incomparable resentment. Baking Cheng didn't speak this time, and his face began to become solemn. Although you and I have never told this matter, but this hatred must be avenged. After 3 lives, if I don't avenge it, I'm unworthy of being a son. Although Bai Yu's voice was very light and faint, but it was not difficult to hear his determination and the murderous aura hidden deep inside. Brother. Baking Cheng's expression was a little complicated. There was a little excitement, a little sternness, and more worry. After all, the strength of Black Dragon Wuxian was there. Bai Yu gently embraced Baking Cheng in his arms. His left hand was on Baking Cheng's back, and his right hand touched Baking Cheng's head. King Cheng, I had the ability to save you back then, and now I have the ability to kill Black Dragon Wuxian. But, I need to condense the dragon body. Condensed dragon power and magic power. Bai Yu's voice was extremely safe. The highest level in this world is the 6 paths level, but Bai Yu knew that there must be hidden levels, such as the guy who once robbed the mysterious man of his life. Although Bai Yu now has the world's top fairy chakra in his body, even if he reaches the same level as that mysterious guy, he is still one level behind the dragon power and magic power. Bai Yu plans to use the Bai family's cultivation method, based on the fairy chakra, to integrate the dragon clan's magic power, become a fairy dragon pill. After thinking for so long, Bai Yu is sure that, as long as this power is mastered by himself, coupled with the dragon clan's blood and dragon power, he can definitely surpass the Black Dragon Wuxian. But this is a matter of time. But the dragon clan is arrogant. Bai Yu has plenty of time to improve himself. Baking Cheng was gently embraced by Bai Yu, and was stunned for a while. It turns out that the brothers' embrace is so safe and warm. The feeling of blood fusion calms Baking Cheng's violent dragon nature. Goddamn, that's your sister. Woohoo. The author has fainted in the toilet. Thank you, brother. If it weren't for you, I would have ceased to exist back then. Baking Cheng said softly, surprisingly gentle. Bai Yu was a little uncomfortable, but Bai Yu would not commit suicide. We brothers and sisters don't say such words of thanks. Bai Yu said softly. But, brother, when you take revenge, I will go too. I feel the same as you. If you don't let me go, even if you take revenge, I will never see you again in this life. Baking Cheng said firmly. Okay, I will kill you, do some tricks, then do some tricks to myself, and then commit suicide. See you in the next life. Bai Yu said roguely. You. Baking Cheng struggled out of Bai Yu's arms when she heard it and hit Bai Yu unhappily. Haha. Just kidding. When the time comes, you will be the enemy. You and I, brother and sister, will kill the enemy with our own hands. Bai Yu scratched Baking Cheng's nose and said with a smile. Huh. Bad brother. Bai Yu inadvertently revealed the demeanor of an elder brother, which made Baking Cheng find a trace of support in his heart unconsciously. Of course, it is just the affection between brothers and sisters. Don't be dirty, I'll tell you LSP. Looking at Baking Cheng's coquettish look, he couldn't help but sigh. Hey, my sister is so beautiful, I don't know if there is a man in this world who can match you. Being too outstanding is also a burden. For example, I have a heavy burden. Not only am I outstanding, but I also have an outstanding sister. Hey. Hearing Bai Yu's crazy words, Baking Cheng rolled her eyes at Bai Yu speechlessly. My parents' great revenge has not been avenged. I don't have the mind to think about these things. Baking Cheng looked at Bai Yu with contempt and said, I didn't know at that time. If I knew, I would definitely hide in a deserted place and practice magic skills. Then I would come out to take revenge. Bai Yu said helplessly. Okay, I know. Anyway, the time between your last life and this life is very short. It doesn't matter this little time. Go see the sisters-in-law first. Baking Cheng said with a smile. But when he said that the time between the last life and this life is very short, there was obviously a mocking tone. Looking at Baking Cheng's beautiful back, Bai Yu touched his nose awkwardly. What's the big deal? It's just that he forgot about the thunder tribulation and got struck. Really? Bai Yu said silently and walked into the ward. Chapter 204, The Day of Enrollment. Back in the ward, Bai Yu saw that the two girls had gotten up, so he started chatting with them. They hadn't seen each other for 2 months, so they talked for a long time. In the past, they talked about Bai Yu or new things, but now they mostly talked about the children. Bai Yu also talked about the growth of Baiki and Baiyao. A few days later, Tsunade gave birth to a son named Baiyao. A month later, Uchiha Makoto gave birth to a daughter named Baiying. When Baiki and Baiyao saw their younger brothers and sisters, They felt a sense of blood fusion, and the two children instantly felt a desire to protect them. This time, Tsunade and Makoto were much more relaxed. Beiki and Bai Yu became more mature with younger brothers and sisters, and took the initiative to help take care of their younger brothers and sisters. From the time Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto were hospitalized, to Tsunade's birth, and then to Uchiha Makoto's birth, the two girls spent their confinement in the hospital. When Uchiha Makoto was 1 month postpartum, the whole family happily returned to the Bai mansion. Beiki and Bai Yu each had their own room. Then 2 more rooms were prepared for Bai Yu and Bai Yu to use in the future. At the first stage, they lived with Bai Yu, Tsunade, and Uchiha Makoto for easy care. The family of 7 lived happily for a while, and also welcomed the days when Beiki and Bai Yu went to school. Beiki and Bai Yu expressed their happiness about making new friends. So far, the only good friend of the two is Uchiha Itachi. Although Uchiha Itachi only came to visit their home every now and then, the two were still very enthusiastic about Uchiha Itachi. Every time Uchiha Itachi came to play at home, or went to play with Uchiha Itachi, the two children were still very happy. The same is true for Uchiha Itachi, who is also very happy to play with Beiki and Bai Yu. Especially Bai Yu. Every time when he made unreasonable troubles and bullied Uchiha Itachi willfully, Uchiha Itachi showed tolerance, which made Bai Yu like to stay with Uchiha Itachi very much. However, although it is said that Bai Yu is not the kind of arrogant girl, on this day, early in the morning, Bai Yu took Beiki with his left hand and Bai Yu with his right hand to send the children to school. However, Bai Yu couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable at this time. The child was wandering around in front of him every day. He was really reluctant to let him go to school. However, seeing the expectation in Beiki and Bai Yu's eyes, Bai Yu thought to himself, what kind of child is this? If you cry and say you don't want to go to school, I will take you back immediately. However, Bai Yu was destined not to say it. From beginning to end, the two children were just excited and expectant. It may be because they heard that they could go to school with Uchiha Itachi every day, or it may be to make new friends. Bai Yu brought Beiki and Bai Yu to school a little early. Although there were already a lot of people, the school was not open yet. Bai Yu was a little bored and looked around to see if there was anyone he knew. He looked around, but he didn't see anyone except Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Fugaku took Uchiha Itachi's hand, shouted, and smiled and approached Bai Yu. Fugaku. Bai Yu also smiled and waved to Uchiha Fugaku and shouted, good guy. This shout caught the attention of the people around. Bai Yu's child and the child of the head of the Uchiha clan are destined to be the best of this class. The calm and majestic aura of Uchiha Fugaku is already very strong, and the nasolabial lines on his face are getting deeper and deeper. It was okay before. He didn't smile or talk, but he didn't have them. But seeing that Uchiha Fugaku could come to send Uchiha Itachi to school in person, he couldn't help but sigh that if it wasn't for him, the Uchiha clan wouldn't be as peaceful as it is now. Itachi, how are you? Are you happy to make new friends? Bai Yu touched Uchiha Itachi's head and asked with a smile. Hello, Uncle Bai. Making new friends is not the point of my happiness. The point is that I'm happier to be in school with my sister Yayo and my brother Ki. Uchiha Itachi first greeted Bai Yu and then said happily that he could go to school with his sister Yayo. Of course, judging from Uchiha Itachi's tender face, Beiki was just a byproduct, and the most important thing was to go to school with Bai Yayo. Bai Yayo smiled brightly when she heard this, while Beiki looked at Uchiha Itachi and Bai Yayo thoughtfully. Seeing this situation, Bai Yu and Uchiha Fugaku looked at each other. Bai Yu felt a pain in his heart, while Uchiha Fugaku smiled triumphantly. Seeing Uchiha Fugaku's face, Bai Yu felt even more blocked in his heart. One is a little cotton padded jacket, and the sweet girl is about to be abducted by someone, and the other is a sweet girl abducted back to someone else's home. It is conceivable that this is a very strong difference. Don't laugh. Be careful of cracking your nasolabial folds. Please buy me a drink later. Bai Yu was so angry when he saw Uchiha Fugaku's face of a villain. Don't talk about buying me a drink. You can buy anything. Uchiha Fugaku said meaningfully. This bastard. Bai Yu was so angry. It's still early. Please buy me a drink first. I wish you a happy birth of a daughter. Bai Yu squinted his eyes and said lightly, glancing at Beiki. Oh. What a coincidence. Missy just gave birth to a son 2 days ago. I even went to see the third Hokage and named him Uchiha Sasuke. I heard that you gave birth to a boy and a girl some time ago. Uchiha Fugaku said with a proud look on his face. No, I didn't give birth. Bai Yu said with a twitch in the corner of his mouth. Impossible, the news has spread all over Konoha. Uchiha Fugaku said with a smile. I didn't give birth. It was Tsunade and Mikoto who gave birth. TSK. Bai Yu snorted, making the smile on Uchiha Fugaku's face even thicker. Haha. Okay, registration has started. Let's go. Uchiha Fugaku knew what Bai Yu was thinking. If he were in his place, he would do the same. He just saw the school gates starting to register for admission, and then said, Bai Yu didn't say anything, holding Beiki in Baiyo's hands, and walking to the door, and Uchiha Fugaku also pulled Uchiha Itachi. The people who send their children to school are usually mothers, and there are very few fathers. They all want to make way for Bai Yu and Uchiha Fugaku, because Bai Yu and Uchiha Fugaku have high status. However, Bai Yu and Uchiha Fugaku did not make this special, but insisted on queuing. Such a move has slightly increased their popularity and made everyone's favorability towards Bai Yu and Uchiha Fugaku a little higher. Seeing Beiki, Baiyo, and Uchiha Itachi talking and laughing with the school teachers, Bai Yu and Uchiha Fugaku suddenly felt a strange feeling in their hearts. Let's go, let's drink. The entrance examination will end at noon. Bai Yu sighed, patted Uchiha Fugaku on the shoulder and said, how do you know it will end at noon? Uchiha Fugaku asked curiously. Have you never been to school? Bai Yu finally caught the opportunity, said with a perfect look of contempt, and then walked towards the nearest tavern. Beautiful. Uchiha Fugaku thought Bai Yu had some exclusive news. Unexpectedly, it was this. It seems that people really can't think too complicated. Uchiha Fugaku also had no choice but to catch up with Bai Yu, who knew that Bai Yu's speed increased a bit. Uchiha Fugaku was stunned and also increased his speed. Bai Yu increased his speed again. In the end, the two of them ran like donkeys. Two childish ghosts. TSK. From the author's disdain. Chapter 205. The New World of the Internet. The childish behavior of the two people led them to the tavern very quickly. Although Bai Yu was very depressed about his daughter being taken away, Uchiha Fugaku was still a close friend of his for many years, and the bond of friendship was still very deep. Is the news about Langteng 2 days ago true or false? Uchiha Fugaku and Bai Yu clinked glasses of wine and asked after drinking them all. What news? Bai Yu was stunned. He had been at home with his wife and children for some time and had not been to the Bai group. No way, you don't know? It's that computer networking or something? What virtual new world or something? Uchiha Fugaku said in surprise. Ah. This? I didn't expect these guys to research it. It's really amazing. I thought it would take a long time. Bai Yu understood it immediately and said with a smile. Tell me, what's going on with that? Although I don't understand, it sounds pretty amazing. I'm looking forward to it. Uchiha Fugaku said with curiosity. TSK. Weren't you very proud just now? Bai Yu took the wine cup, shook it gently, and said with a proud face. 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, little brother! Exclamation mark. Haha, I'm not proud, I'm just happy for Itachi. As a father, shouldn't I be happy for the happiness of my child? Uchiha Fugaku's eyes turned slightly, and said with a smile. Unexpectedly, the once silly Fugaku is now a qualified wise man. Although this is a small matter, it is often small things that can reflect something. TSK. That is to connect all computers through a medium. Through this medium, you can have interactions that are not in the same space. This is the internet, and you can do a lot of things through the internet. Bai Yu rolled his eyes at Uchiha Fugaku and said carefully. So amazing? Then can you go to another place through a computer? Uchiha Fugaku was slightly shocked, and then asked. Are you saying that you can transfer people to another place through a computer? Bai Yu said in surprise. Yes. If you can do this, it can be called a large-scale flying thunder god technique. Uchiha Fugaku said with a gleam in his eyes. Don't dream. How is it possible? This so-called networking is a more mysterious signal. It's like the sealing technique is outlined by the technique and then injected with chakra to release it. This networking is to install a new device on the computer, which is engraved with extremely complicated sealing techniques. Then every time you go online, you need to inject chakra yourself to communicate with the spirit world, and then you need to inject more chakra when you run out of chakra. Of course, I thought of a storage device before, which is a device for storing chakra. Bai Yu explained. Oh, so that's it. That's really a pity. But can the device for storing chakra be put into combat? For example, if a person consumes too much chakra, then use this device to replenish it. Uchiha Fugaku drank a sip of wine and ate a small dish and asked, how is it possible? The chakra stored in the device has long been changed and has become a special energy for the consumption of the device. What are you thinking? Improving strength is more important than anything else. Although technology can bring happiness and convenience to people, it cannot be the culprit of human regression. You must know that human potential is infinite. How can it be affected by technology? Bai Yu said without thinking. After finishing speaking, Bai Yu couldn't help but think of some people in his previous life who called for a taxi, even though the distance was less than 1,000 meters. In ancient times, there were many ruthless people who walked 30 miles. In his previous life, there were many people who complained of being tired after walking 300 meters. It's sad and lamentable. Yes, it's enough for technology to bring people entertainment and some convenience. If everything really depends on technology, people will become unwilling to endure hardships and become lazy. In this case, is there anyone willing to become a ninja and defend their homeland? Yes, you are right. Come, have a drink. Uchiha Fugaku agreed with Bai Yu's words from the bottom of his heart. Uchiha Fugaku and Bai Yu chatted happily. Bai Yu was also generous enough to equip Uchiha Fugaku's family with cutting-edge computers. However, even if he didn't say it, Bai Yu would not forget these old friends. How much does a computer cost? The bond of friendship is priceless. But the two seemed to have forgotten something. They drank until the sun set and went home directly. When Bai Yu saw Baiki and Bai Yao, when Uchiha Fugaku saw Uchiha Itachi, the two stood at attention. Bai Yu stood in the yard all night. Uchiha Fugaku also stood in the yard all night. The two were miserable. Except for sending the children to school or going out to do things. As long as they were at home, they would stand in the yard. Such days lasted for half a month. This resolved the anger of Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Uchiha Missy, but their attitudes were still not very friendly. On this day, the ninja world was shaken again. The reason was nothing else. It was just that Lanteng Technology had a new product. The device called New World. As long as this device is connected to the computer of Lanteng Technology, you can connect to the network and realize the virtual new world. Of course, after connecting the device, the computer system will automatically update. This is a virtual operation that those technical geeks came up with. Use the network to upgrade every computer connected to the network. In this way, you can have the interface of the new world and a chat tool on the desktop. Just register an account and scan your face. Of course, this tool is also bundled with a device, that is, a camera. How to scan your face without a camera? I have to say that Bai Yu is a prophet here. No, I should take a Naruhirakoa. Most of the Bai group is run by Naruhirakoa. Bai Yu had nothing to do. Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto were taking care of the children. Baiki and Bai Yao went to school. Bai Yu went to the study to take a look at the computer that had just been delivered. Bai Yu connected the equipment and turned on the computer. This interface, how should I put it, is still incomparable to the previous life, and the chat tool is too simple. Especially this game, this picture quality, this sound effect. After fiddling with it for a while, Bai Yu turned off the computer. Then he said hello to Tsunade and Makoto and walked towards the Bai group. But Bai Yu certainly couldn't talk about these problems directly. After all, it's already very advanced for this world to have these things. Bai Yu came to the Bai group, first affirmed everyone's work, and then promised to triple the bonus this month, which made everyone passionate. Bai Yu began to say that there are various aspects, where and which aspects can be improved, and also gave some ideas and thoughts. After all, Bai Yu couldn't say much. After all, what he wanted was not a group of employees who obeyed orders. what he wanted were elite backbones who were self-aware, had ideas, were innovative, willing to endure hardships, and were down to earth and hardworking. Chapter 206 Namikaze Minato's Anxiety. Days passed one by one. The peaceful days brought Konoha to its heyday. The economy is growing day by day, the economy is independent, technology is developing rapidly, and various industries are rising. And with Bai Yu's generosity, the unemployed people in Konoha village have also found jobs again, which is in terms of economy and people's livelihood. In terms of military force, Konoha is also full of talents. The pillars are Hatake Tsukumo and Jiraiya. Tsunade is also a pillar, but since marrying Bai Yu, Tsunade has become more virtuous, but everyone knows that at a critical moment, Tsunade will be like a tiger out of the cage, and hold up the sky. Led by Bai Yu, the Konoha death god who supports the tailless tailed beast, there are Minato Namikaze, Fugaku Uchiha, Hayashi Hyuga, Hisashi Hyuga, Shikaku Nera, Chozora Kimichi, Inoichi Yamanaka, Tail of Inuzuka, Shibuya Burame, and the top ninja among the civilians, Shinku Yuhi, etc. These young and strong elite ninjas. There are also new elite ninjas, Uchiha Shizu, Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, Might Guy, Tachibana Yukio, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi Kunai, and Noharurin. There are also potential stocks such as Gekao Gale, Yuzuki Yugeo, etc. As well as new Kwasi Genin, Beiki, Baiyao, Uchiha Itachi, etc. Since Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto gave birth to Baiheo and Baiing respectively, Nerashikaku and others have not been outdone, and have become fathers and mothers one after another. Nerashikamaru, Akimichi Choji, Yamanaka Ino, Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Niji, Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame, and even other children have also been born one after another. It can be said that Konoha is really full of talents now, and there are so many reserve forces. And there are also those evil ninjas from the dragon group. Bai Yu is also a recluse, so there is no need to do everything by himself. As long as the general direction is there, Bai Yu's capable man, Nera Hirakawa, will do it for Bai Yu. So, when there is nothing to do, Bai Yu will practice. That is to condense the dragon body. At night, unless Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto are inconvenient, Bai Yu will not stop playing games. Moreover, Bai Yu had not noticed it before. Since condensing the dragon body, Bai Yu found that every time he played games, the energy in his body would be purer and more vigorous, and the speed of condensing the dragon body would be faster. Not only Bai Yu has improved, but Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto have also improved more obviously. Not only have the two women improved their cultivation, but their skin has also become whiter, rosy, and shiny. In short, the benefits are huge. Of course, Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto don't take care of the children at home every day. Occasionally, they will go shopping with Uchiha Missy, and the task of taking care of Baiheo and Baiing will naturally fall into Bai Yu's hands. Bai Yu's neighbors, Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina's family, have also changed a lot. Namikaze Minato obviously goes home more often, and Kushina's belly is getting bigger and bigger. On this day, Namikaze Minato went home and had dinner. Bai Yu was bored and jumped over the wall directly. Namikaze Minato appeared in the yard with a flying thunder magic. Seeing that the person coming was Bai Yu, Namikaze Minato smiled helplessly. Can you not jump over the wall next time? Namikaze Minato and Bai Yu sat at the stone table in the yard, and Namikaze Minato said helplessly, "Isn't Kushina pregnant? What are you afraid of? What secrets are there? Don't worry, after Kushina gives birth to the child, and can do that, I will definitely knock on the door." Bai Yu said heartlessly and meanly. Can you be serious? Namikaze Minato's face was a little embarrassed by Bai Yu's words. Oh my god, you are about to have a child. Are you still so shy? I can't do that. Bai Yu joked. Stop it. It just so happens that I have something I want to ask you for help. Namikaze Minato blushed at first, then thought of something, and said with bright eyes, "Want to ask me for help? Sure, my appearance fee is very high." Bai Yu said teasingly, "Stop joking. This is it. We can still gather intelligence about the land of lightning, the land of earth, and the land of wind. But we really have no idea about the land of water. I was planning to go there in person. However, you know Kushina's situation, so it's not easy for me to go out. But I'm really worried about not having any intelligence for such a long time. Namikaze Minato said in a deep voice, with a flash of contemplation in his eyes. Bai Yu also has some ideas about the Land of Water. Bai Yu guessed that the reason why the Land of Water implemented the damn blood mist policy was probably because of Uchiha Madara. Otherwise, why didn't the Land of Water send anyone to ask for the Three Tails for such a long time? You know, the Three Tails is still in Nohararin's body. I don't know if Uchiha Madara is dead. As for the moon plan, Bai Yu doesn't know who will be the executor of the plan. When will Kushina give birth? Bai Yu thought of Namikaze Minato as the Hokage and Kushina as the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and he felt a little uneasy. Bai Yu frowned and thought for a while and asked, "There are still 2 months left." Speaking of this issue, Minato Namikaze's face was full of excitement. Bai Yu understood. He was the same back then. There are still 2 months left. If it is a simple one-way trip, go in the morning and come back in the evening. But if you want to collect intelligence, it will take time. Bai Yu frowned and said softly, "Collecting intelligence is not a simple matter of going over and taking a look, but it is necessary to collect the overall status of the Mist Village, its military strength, backbones, economy, etc. This trip will also take 2 or 3 months. However, Bai Yu always felt that something would happen on the day Kushina gave birth. Although Bai Yu never said it, this feeling would appear whenever Bai Yu thought of Minato Namikaze or Kushina. Let Genji and the others go. Don't worry, they will do it." Bai Yu thought for a while and said. Bai Yu still wanted to stay in Konoha, so that if something happened at that time, he could take action in time. "I just don't want to make any more sacrifices, so I decided to go there myself." Genji and the others, "That's fine too. Since you said so, I'll send them there. But there's something else I need your help with." Namikaze Minato thought about it and agreed with Bai Yu's statement, then said with a smile, "What's the matter? You're just not happy that you don't let me get busy." Bai Yu said with a smile, I won't hide it from you. Maybe I'm too cautious. I always feel that something will happen on the day Kushina gives birth. But I don't know what it is. I've had this feeling for a long time, and the closer it gets to giving birth, the stronger it feels." Namikaze Minato frowned slightly and said. Bai Yu didn't say anything, waiting for Namikaze Minato's next words. "I want you to help take care of Kushina on the day she gives birth. I'm afraid something unexpected will happen. After all, Kushina is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and the guys from the Cloud Ninja once tried to snatch the Nine-Tails away." Namikaze Minato said carefully. "Okay, no problem. At that time, I will be very focused." Bai Yu smiled slightly and said calmly, "That would be so cool." Chapter 207 Uchiha Itachi and Bai Yu's little ambiguity. "That's good. I'll feel relieved. When the time comes, I'll ask Senior Hatake Tsukumo to pay attention to Konoha's safety. Let Shizu and the others guard the area where Kushina gave birth. Plus, I'll feel relieved if you're here." Namikaze Minato said happily. "I hope all your arrangements are in vain." Bai Yu said with a smile. "I hope so too." Namikaze Minato was slightly stunned, and then said with a smile, "Well, okay, then I'll go back." After Bai Yu finished speaking, he walked to the wall and jumped. It is said that, if you often walk by the river, you will get your shoes wet. Bai Yu jumped, but made a small mistake, and didn't control the height well. His left little toe hooked the wall, and the whole person lost balance in the air. Bang! Bai Yu landed on the ground with his butt up in the air, like a wild goose falling on the sand. Are you okay?" Namikaze Minato asked with concern, holding back his smile. "What can happen to me? It's just that these slippers are a bit of a hindrance. I should have known not to wear slippers earlier." Bai Yu calmly wiped the dust off his face with his hands, and then said cheerfully, "I told you to jump over the wall, but you still won't jump." Namikaze Minato thought to himself, but didn't say it out loud, for fear that, if he said it out loud, Bai Yu would jump over again. Itachi, so boring. Daddy has already told me everything the teacher taught. In class, Bai Yu put her fair right arm on the table, held her cheek with her right hand, and said to Baiki, who was sleeping with a bubbling nose on the left. However, Uchiha Itachi was concentrating at this time, listening carefully to the teacher's explanation in front of him, and did not hear what Bai Yu said. Uchiha Itachi did not answer, so Bai Yu thought that Uchiha Itachi was also asleep and quickly turned her head to look at Uchiha Itachi. I have to admit that Itachi's cold face and serious look are really attractive. Although he is still a little immature now, it does not prevent the girls in the class from appreciating Itachi. Seeing Uchiha Itachi's serious look, Bai Yu was stunned. Oh my god, you can't be listening so seriously? Bai Yu said in surprise. This time Uchiha Itachi heard it. Turning around, seeing Bai Yu's surprised look, Uchiha Itachi smiled, gently tapped Bai Yu's white forehead, and said with a smile, Uncle Bai said that reviewing the old will help you learn new things. Although I have learned all this knowledge, but listening to it again will make me remember it more firmly. Uchiha Itachi's cold face, when he smiled, it really looked like ice melting. Bai Yu's pretty face blushed after being tapped on the forehead, but she returned to normal in an instant. Itachi, let's skip class. I know a newly opened dessert house. It is said to be very delicious. Should we go and try it? Bai Yu looked at Uchiha Itachi and said with a sly smile. This is a very coincidental. Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi don't like barbecue or skewers, but they only like desserts. This is one of the common hobbies of the two. Skipping class? Uchiha Itachi was very tempted when he heard the word dessert house, but skipping class was really a big obstacle for Uchiha Itachi, a model student. Let's go, Uchiha Itachi said afterwards. Bai Yu made a scissors hand gesture and then poked Baiki, who was sleeping like a pig next to him. Brother, get up quickly, school is over. Bai Yu's eyes flashed with a cunning and whispered in Baiki's ear. Huh, school is over? So soon? Well, let's go. Baiki stood up in a daze and wiped his saliva. Under the gaze of the whole class, he stood up. Then he walked out of the classroom in a daze. He didn't notice the teacher with a green face at all. Baiki felt something strange and found that this strangeness was the gaze of one person, that is, his homeroom teacher. Goodbye, teacher. Baiki thought that the teacher did not leave after school, bowed to the teacher, and walked out of the classroom with his hands in his pockets in a very chic manner. Baiki, the teacher roared, and then chased him out. Let's go. Bai Yu showed a trace of success in her eyes, and pulled the stunned Uchiha Itachi, and jumped out of the window. Successfully skipped class. The other students saw it, and wanted to jump out of the window, but it was too late. The teacher led Baiki back by the back of the neck. Baiki was sober at this time, standing next to the gate, without saying a word. He glimpsed that Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi's seats were already empty. Baiki instantly understood that his good sister had pitied him. This was not Baiki's fault. It was the first time that Bai Yu could think of this plan, and Baiki was not prepared at all. Hey, after all, she is still my sister. This pot, I will bear it. Baiki thought silently in his heart. Joa, how about this? Your brother? Although Uchiha Itachi looked a little embarrassed, his behavior was still very real. At this time, he pulled Bai Yu, opened his Sharingan, got rid of the teacher on the playground, and was as smooth as a thief. Bring a delicious meal for brother when the time comes, and we can rush back during lunch break. Bai Yu looked at Uchiha Itachi and smiled mischievously. This smile was very sweet and lovely, with watery eyes, and a hint of cunning flashed across it. It made Uchiha Itachi a little stunned. Hey, tree. Bai Yu's urgent reminder brought Uchiha Itachi back to his senses. In a moment of distraction, Uchiha Itachi almost hit the tree. Uchiha Itachi stopped suddenly and turned around. The inertia caused Bai Yu to hang in the air, and then fell into Uchiha Itachi's arms. At this time, they also arrived next to the school wall. Uchiha Itachi picked up Bai Yu, jumped to the top of the wall, and then jumped out of the school. Landed smoothly. A set of smooth movements, although it was completed in an instant, but the handsomeness level is 5 stars. Full 5 stars. Bai Yu's face turned red in Uchiha Itachi's arms. I don't know what to do. Girls are always more mature than boys. However, Bai Yu is different. Bai Yu's mind has long been more mature than her peers, so this has a greater impact on Bai Yu. However, Bai Yu quickly calmed down and broke free from Uchiha Itachi's arms. It's just in front. Let's go. In order to avoid embarrassment, Bai Yu ran forward first. Uchiha Itachi looked at Bai Yu's beautiful back, recalled Bai Yu's smile just now, and his heartbeat accelerated a few times. It must be said that Uchiha Itachi is also a relatively precocious child. Uchiha Itachi calmed down and ran after Bai Yu. Boss, 2 3-color meatballs and 2 natto. As soon as Uchiha Itachi followed in, he heard Bai Yu had already run to the ordering position in the store and asked for 2 desserts. The little girl has a good eye. This is the signature of our store. It's very popular. There is no other store with it. The boss is a woman, a very mature and feminine woman. Seeing Bai Yu so sweet, the boss lady couldn't help but say a few more words. Joa, have you ordered? Uchiha Itachi came to Bai Yu's side and asked softly without looking at the boss lady. I've ordered. I ordered 2. I saw it was a new item, so I ordered 2. Bai Yu said with a smile. Uchiha Itachi smiled, then said to the proprietress with a cold face, check out. Then he took out Konoha banknotes from his pocket. Uchiha Itachi's smile was only for his relatives and people he cared about. Chapter 208 Baki and Uchiha Raizumi. The dessert was ready soon. Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi sat face to face, tasting the new delicacies of this dessert shop. The taste was surprisingly good. Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi ate very attentively and successfully turned into foodies. After eating dessert, they naturally had to drink a cup of delicious drinks, and then have a good chat to enhance their friendship, and then simply go shopping. Although the two were mature, they were still children. In the end, the two climbed over the wall and returned to school, completely forgetting Baki who took the blame. It was noon at this time. Baki sat in a quiet place in the woods of the school and thought about life. Rather than thinking about life, it was not to say that he was precocious and had a vision beyond his peers. Baki understood what his father meant. He made friends with peers of the same age, otherwise he would probably become more withdrawn. Baki was like this, and Uchiha Itachi was like this. Although Bai Yu was more lively, that was only on the surface. Uchiha Itachi was born in the Uchiha family. Although the current Uchiha family has become many times more sunny than before, the ideas of family honor and family pride still exist. Fortunately, it is not just an obsession. Baki has been precocious since he was a child. He and Bai Yu have experienced the time of training in the Dragon Group. He has also chatted with some ninjas in the Dragon Group. What he heard were all the deeds of the Dragon Group ninjas when they were on missions, or Bai Yu's deeds in the past. Although he has not experienced war, just by listening to the description, he knows how tragic war is. Baki is a little entangled. On the one hand, he wants to listen to his father and make more friends. On the other hand, he also wants to graduate as soon as possible and work hard to improve his strength. He wants to have a strong strength as soon as possible to protect his younger brothers and sisters. His father and mother must be very strong, so Baki has more thoughts about protecting his younger brothers and sisters. As for making friends, Baki thinks that his peers around him are, well, a little childish. Hey, what are you thinking about? A crisp and pleasant voice woke Baki up. Baki turned his head suddenly, and the face that came into his sight made Baki's little heart beat several times in a row. Long black hair like a waterfall, fair face, watery eyes, a beauty mole at the right corner of the eye, a beautiful nose, thin lips slightly open, a girl's unique fragrance, a little bit of girl's fragrance, but why is the cheeks of this face slightly red? The boy has a delicate face, and is a little surprised. The girl is a standard beauty. She bends down and faces the boy, but the boy's sudden turn of his head just now makes the distance between them a little too close. The lips are only 3 centimeters apart. Baki recovered and couldn't help blushing. No wonder she blushed. It's so close, and girls are thin-skinned. Hesitating and not knowing what to say, a little embarrassed. Seeing Baki's silly look, the girl couldn't help but cover her mouth and smile. You are so silly and funny. My name is Uchiha Raizumi. What's your name? My name is Baki. Baki touched the back of his head and said with a silly smile. I saw you thinking about something just now. What were you thinking about? Uchiha Raizumi said with a smile. She saw Baki thinking from a distance just now. There was a look in his eyes that was not in line with his age. She immediately felt that Baki was not one of those childish guys, so she wanted to talk to Baki. I'm thinking about how to make a choice in the future. Beiki heard what Uchiha Raizumi said, and his mind suddenly calmed down. He looked at the playground next to him and said indifferently, "Oh, the choice in the future? Isn't it just graduating from the ninja school? What other choices can there be?" Uchiha Raizumi was stunned when she heard it and asked, "It's not that simple. Although we are still young, we are destined to become powerful ninjas. In the ninja school, my father wants me and my sister to make more friends of the same age. Let's not talk about this for now. I really want to improve my strength quickly. If the war comes, I will also have some strength to protect my brothers and sisters, but I don't want to go against my father's ideas," Beiki said with a deep look in his eyes. Uchiha Raizumi heard this and immediately felt that Beiki was different. At such a young age, he could think about such long-term things instead of thinking about playing every day like other people, or who is so powerful, or doing something sensational every day. Looking at Beiki's deep eyes and the invisible calmness that was not in line with ordinary people, Uchiha Raizumi was touched. "To improve your strength, you have to graduate from the ninja school. Why do you want to do it so early?" Uchiha Raizumi looked at Beiki and said with a smile, "No, I can apply for early graduation, but not now. I have to see if there are friends in the ninja school who are similar to me in terms of intelligence. If there are, I will stay in school for a while. If not, I will immediately ask my father about early graduation." Beiki's eyes lit up, and he knew what to do unconsciously. He felt really comfortable in his heart. "Thank you, Izumi. If I hadn't chatted with you, I don't know how long I would have to think about it by myself." Beiki then smiled and said to Uchiha Raizumi, "Haha. I didn't say anything. Why thank you. Have you had lunch?" Uchiha Raizumi smiled sweetly and asked, "Not yet." Beiki couldn't help but think of Uchiha Itachi and Bai Yu who skipped classes. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he said with a dry laugh, "Uchiha Itachi and Bai Yu skipped classes, right?" Uchiha Raizumi rolled his eyes and said with a smile, "Huh, how did you know?" Beiki was slightly stunned and asked subconsciously, "It's been a long time since the start of school. You don't even know that I'm your classmate. It seems that your title of the God of Sleep is not in vain." Uchiha Raizumi covered her mouth and smiled and said, "So you know me, God of Sleep? What kind of title is that?" Beiki said, feeling funny, and shook his head. "I don't know you, but I heard your name Beiki, and it's a bit unfamiliar." Suddenly I thought of Bai Yu, the sleepy brother in the class. He sleeps all day. I asked for leave for 2 classes this morning, and when I saw Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi wandering on the street, I knew they skipped classes. That's why I asked you. Uchiha Raizumi's eyes flashed with intelligence. Okay, but it's not my fault for sleeping. My father has already taught me the knowledge in school. I heard what the teacher said, and my father said it was too boring. I'm very sleepy." Beiki scratched his head helplessly and said, "Okay, let's have lunch together. I haven't eaten yet." Uchiha Raizumi held a lunchbox in her right hand, shook it in front of her, and said with a smile. Beiki also picked up the lunchbox beside him, and shook it with a smile. Uchiha Raizumi smiled, and sat beside Beiki. A faint fragrance rushed into Beiki's nose. Beiki thought it smelled good, and smelled it unconsciously. Uchiha Raizumi is not a fool. Seeing Beiki's actions, her face turned red. Beiki saw Uchiha Raizumi blushing, and said embarrassedly, "Sorry, you smell so good, I couldn't help but smell it. Let's eat." Uchiha Raizumi didn't expect that Beiki would say it directly. Seeing Beiki's clear and sincere eyes, she couldn't help but smile. "You are really interesting. Let's continue to eat together tomorrow." Uchiha Raizumi smiled. Beiki's face was also slightly red. He didn't say anything and ate with Uchiha Raizumi. Chapter 209. Beiki has become a bad person. Although Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi ate desserts, desserts are not staple food after all, so they were still a little unsatisfying. The two returned to the classroom and finished their lunch boxes, and then they felt full. In the afternoon, Beiki surprisingly did not sleep, and Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi were curious about the new deskmat on Beiki's left. This new deskmat was Uchiha Raizumi. Uchiha Raizumi smiled and greeted Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi. Although Uchiha Raizumi and Uchiha Itachi are from the same clan, People from the same clan do not necessarily know each other. Beiki spent the whole afternoon whispering to Uchiha Raizumi, which surprised Bai Yu and made her very angry. Someone stole her brother. However, no matter how angry she was still happy for Beiki that he could chat with others happily. You know, Beiki usually sleeps, and in his eyes, there is only Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi. Whoever chatted with Beiki would just perfunctorily say or ah, but the same goes for Uchiha Itachi, who would just give a faint smile, and sometimes didn't even say a word. This made Bai Yu a little helpless. Why did Beiki and Uchiha Itachi both have the character of being alone? Fortunately, Uchiha Itachi and Beiki both loved Bai Yu. Beiki was like a brother to his sister, and Uchiha Itachi, well. After school, Uchiha Makoto and Tsunade came to pick up Beiki and Bai Yu with Bai Yu and Baiing. Uchiha Missy came to pick up Uchiha Itachi with Uchiha Sasuke. The three girls chatted for a long time before going home. Beiki had been paying attention to Uchiha Raizumi, but when Beiki saw Uchiha Raizumi, who was carrying a lunchbox alone in the crowd with a faint smile on her face, his heart ached. Thinking about how he had eaten more than half of someone else's lunchbox at noon, his face couldn't help but turn red. This also made Beiki secretly have some thoughts in his mind. Uchiha Raizumi kept recalling Beiki's wolfing down at noon, and the scene of the two chatting enthusiastically in the afternoon. The corners of his mouth rose slightly. It is said that the Uchiha clan is the family that understands love the most, which is absolutely true. Anyone who can enter the hearts of the Uchiha clan members is undoubtedly happy. Bai Yu is like this, breaking into the heart of Uchiha Itachi, and Beiki is also like this, breaking into the heart of Uchiha Raizumi. But how can feelings be so careless? A true love must start from innocence. Like Bai Yu, the author is unwilling to comment too much. Back home, Beiki quietly found Bai Yu who was playing on the computer in the study. "Dad?" Beiki shouted thoughtfully. Bai Yu heard the voice, glanced at Beiki who was thoughtful, and a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. "Kia, what's wrong? Have you eaten?" Bai Yu asked with a smile. "No." "Kia has something to say to Dad," Beiki said with a blushing face. "Oh." Bai Yu walked to the sofa in the study and pointed to the seat next to him. Come and talk," Bai Yu said with a smile. "What's the matter? It's rare. Kia never tells Dad about his worries," Bai Yu said jokingly. Hearing this, Beiki's face turned even redder, and his heart was beating fast. "Dad, I want some money," Beiki said, clenching his fists nervously and looking at Bai Yu. "Okay, you can ask for money, but you have to tell Dad why," Bai Yu said. Beiki didn't know what to say now. In fact, Beiki's heart ached slightly when he saw Uchiha Raizumi's lonely figure after school. Thinking that Uchiha Raizumi might have no family, or there were only elderly people at home, he wanted to help Uchiha Raizumi, but through the afternoon chat, he knew that Uchiha Raizumi was a girl who didn't accept benefits from others, so Beiki thought of asking for some money to buy a portable sealed handbag that could store food. This was an item that Bai Yu made out of boredom a few years ago and sold in Konoha. Beiki could have asked for one directly, but he was afraid that Bai Yu would misunderstand, so he wanted some money and then went to buy one. "It doesn't matter if you don't tell me, I can give you the money, but you know, I will definitely know what I want to know. How much do you want?" Bai Yu immediately felt that there was something fishy about this kid. He must have made friends and wanted some money to go out and treat his good friends to a meal. But he was afraid that this child would make bad friends, so he said it tactfully. It's like this, Dad, I met a new friend today." Beiki was still a teenager and told Bai Yu everything. But he didn't tell Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi that he slept in class and skipped classes. This matter can't be said, even if he is beaten to death. Uchiha clan. Bai Yu's eyes lit up. "Good boy, Fugaku. Fugaku, didn't you let your son date my daughter? I will let my son date a girl from your clan. Humph! Exclamation mark. Seeing Bai Yu's reaction, Beiki's heart skipped a beat. He thought, doesn't Dad have a good relationship with the Uchiha clan? Is it because Uchiha Raizumi is an orphan, or there is only an old man in the family? Or, Dad thinks that the family background is not right. What are you thinking? But Beiki's heart was beating. He looked at Bai Yu nervously. Bai Yu saw Bakey's nervous look and smiled. Okay. How much money do you want? Tell me. Dad will get it for you. Bai Yu said proudly. Well, 500,000. Bakey's breathing became a little rapid after he finished speaking. He was so nervous. Bai Yu was stunned when he heard it. Is Bakey going to support someone? This is not possible. 500,000? Why do you want so much money? You can't learn bad habits. Kia, look at your father. Although he is rich, he doesn't have any bad habits. You can't learn bad habits. Bai Yu looked at Bakey and said nervously. I thought, should I send someone to keep an eye on Bakey? A series of labels such as rich second generation dandy and so on kept churning in Bai Yu's mind. How is it possible? Dad, I just want to help her, but she is not someone who is willing to ask for favors, so I just want to help her indirectly. Bakey was anxious and hurriedly stood up and said anxiously. His little face flushed red. Seeing Bakey's reaction, Bai Yu was finally relieved. Walking to the computer desk and opening the drawer, Bai Yu took out a bank card from it, then smiled and handed it to Bakey, saying proudly, there is 1 million in it. Use it and tell Dad when you have used it up. Just think of it as your love fund. But Bai Yu did not say this explicitly. The teasing in his eyes was also very obscure. Bakey got the bank card, asked for the password, and walked out of the study happily. The excited Bakey was a little floating when he walked. During the meal, Bai Yu asked Bai Yu to go downstairs. Bai Yu observed Bakey and saw that Bakey had returned to normal. He couldn't help but praise Bakey in his heart. This kind of character is good. After dinner, Bai Yu asked Bakey and Bai Yu to wait in the living room for a while. He went upstairs by himself. Bakey and Bai Yu exchanged glances. Has your skipping class been exposed? Bai Yu looked at Bakey and asked. Impossible. Dad doesn't know anything about it. Bakey responded with a look. How did you know? Bai Yu's eyes were full of doubt. I just looked for Dad. Bakey responded, ignoring Bai Yu's fiery eyes, not looking at her or talking. Bai Yu was so anxious that she stared blankly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Bai Yu's Bitterness. This is a tacit understanding that the brother and sister have cultivated since childhood. Eye contact. Compared with the eyes of the poor students discussing eating, the content is richer. Soon Bai Yu came down. However, he held 2 ninja tools in each hand, a double-edged longsword with exquisite shape, and Bai Yu specially added talisman patterns on the sword body. After injecting chakra, the characteristics of the talisman will be activated, such as toughness and sharpness. The other is a nearly 3-meter long spear with 3 blood grooves on the tip of the spear. The overall shape is a dragon head spitting out a spear tip, which is very cool. Of course, Bai Yu also personally added runes on the spear body and the tip of the spear. This is for you, as your school gifts. The long sword is Joa's, and the long spear is Kia's. Bai Yu stretched his hands forward and said with a smile, wow. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Dad. Bakey and Bai Yu ran over happily and took their own ninja tools. He kept looking at them, his face full of excitement. However, although the school does not prohibit bringing your own ninja tools, it is not appropriate for Yaoa, as a girl, to wear a long sword, and it is not appropriate for Kia to hold a long spear. So, Daddy thought of a curse seal, which can hide your own blade inside, and when you need it, you can remove the curse seal and the blade will appear. And Daddy has improved this curse seal, so that it can be reused. After Bai Yu finished speaking, he looked at Bakey and Bai Yu, and his expression was, as if he was about to shout out, praise me, praise me. Bai Yu was still the same, and threw herself into Bai Yu's arms and said sweetly. Bakey was anxious on the side, but he didn't know what to say. He also wanted Bai Yu to teach him. Tsunade and Mikoto, who were cleaning up, saw this scene, and smiled at each other. What woman doesn't want her family to be harmonious and warm? Bai Yu took out 2 standard wristbands, black leather, with a metal engraved with runes on it, and then Bai Yu taught the 2 children how to use them. Then Bakey and Bai Yu had a lot of fun on the side. The long sword and the long spear appeared and disappeared. But not long after, Beiki and Bai Yu stood in front of Bai Yu, who was drinking tea before bed. "What's wrong?" Bai Yu was slightly stunned and asked. "Daddy, do you have any more? Can you give Joa another one?" Bai Yu said coquettishly. "Dad, I want one too." Beiki said nervously. "Other girls bring things home, why does my daughter send things out? Also, other boys are given things by other girls, but this brat. Why is it the other way around for my own family?" Bai Yu felt depressed, but he still took out 2 more from his ninja tool bag. "Anyway, this is just a small item, not worth much, just give it away." Bai Yu comforted himself in his heart. Beiki and Bai Yu, who took the things, quickly flattered Bai Yu, saying the best daddy in the world, the most handsome daddy in the world, which made Bai Yu, who was depressed, more or less feel a little relieved. The next day, after breakfast, Uchiha Mikoto looked after the 2 children, while Tsunade sent Beiki and Bai Yu to school. However, Beiki said, "Tsunade mom, Yu and I have grown up. We can go to school and go home by ourselves in the future." Bai Yu did not refute when she heard this, because without her mother, she could still have a lot of free time to play with Uchiha Itachi. Thinking of this, Bai Yu felt secretly happy, and she didn't realize that there was another person in her heart unconsciously. Tsunade looked at Beiki and Bai Yu, and suddenly thought of something, and glanced at Bai Yu. Seeing Bai Yu blinked, Tsunade immediately understood. "Okay, you can go by yourself in the future," Tsunade said with a smile. "Yeah." Beiki and Bai Yu nodded happily and agreed, picked up the lunch boxes prepared by Uchiha Mikoto for them, and went to school happily. "Husband, what's going on?" Tsunade walked to Bai Yu and asked with her head on Bai Yu's shoulder. Bai Yu waved to Uchiha Mikoto next to him. When Uchiha Mikoto came over, she embraced the 2 girls in her arms. The 2 girls hugged Bai Yu and Bai Ing respectively. Listening to Bai Yu talking about Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi, Beiki and Uchiha Izumi, the 2 girls knew about it, and immediately smiled with the smile of an experienced person. They didn't speak or move, but quietly stayed in Bai Yu's arms. They haven't felt so safe for a long time. Bai Yu's arms always made the 2 girls feel so safe, as if as long as they were in Bai Yu's arms, even if the sky fell, they could face it with a calm smile. Bai Yu sensed the emotions of the 2 girls, and smiled happily without moving. However, the good times didn't last long. Bai Yu and Bai Ing cried one after another, and the 3 of them smiled at each other. Speaking of Baking Cheng, she has gradually lost her previous interest in Konoha Casino recently, and started fighting in the casinos around Konoha village. The reason is that there are fewer and fewer people willing to gamble with Baking Cheng in the Konoha Casino. You can play by yourself, but the winnings are all Bai Yu's money, which is boring. In the end, all the money will be handed over to Bai Yu. Baking Cheng just keeps a wallet of banknotes, which is the kind of space wallet that can hold a lot of money. And Baking Cheng, after winning money in the casinos around Konoha, also sent the money to the Konoha Casino. Baking Cheng just likes the feeling of winning money, but does not value money. Beiki and Bai Yu went out early. When the 2 were walking on the road, Beiki said to Bai Yu, "Sister, can you accompany me to the Bai's ninja tool shop?" "What are you going to do?" Bai Yu asked puzzledly. "I'm going to buy something," Beiki said with a slightly red face. Oh, brother, you are blushing. To be honest, are you going to buy something for Sister Kwan Mei? Bai Yu made a few funny noises and said to Beiki with a smirk, "If you don't come with me, go to school by yourself. I'll go shopping by myself," Beiki said with a blushing face, and then walked forward. Brother, look at you. You are still shy. Tell me quickly, what are you going to give to Sister Kwan Mei? What's going on between you and Sister Kwan Mei? Hey, brother, tell me quickly. It is said that women are not human when they gossip, which is absolutely true. Under Bai Yu's machine gun-like words, the straightforward Beiki told Bai Yu his thoughts completely. But when Bai Yu heard that Bai Yu gave Beiki 1 million, he couldn't help but shout 1 million. My god. Daddy is really generous. But brother, what are you going to buy? So expensive? It can't be a handbag, right? Hey, ninja tool shop. It can't be that precious handbag. His Bai Yu chirped like a lark, calling in Beiki's ears. That's it. Most people don't know it anyway. Just treat it as an ordinary handbag. Ordinary handbags can also store items. It's just that the workmanship of the one I gave you is better, and it can store more items. Beiki said with a blushing face. Baiyao looked at the blushing Beiki. Baiyao never thought that a silly brother would be like this. Oh, if Uchiha Itachi could treat me like this. Baiyao felt sour in her heart. Chapter 211. Why did the teacher's face turn green? Brother, you are really spending too much money to pursue a girl. More than 300,000 yuan. And you just gave it away like that? Baiyao said with a heartache. What are you talking about? I didn't pursue her. That's it. Forget it. I won't say it. Beiki hesitated and didn't know what to say. It happened that the two of them arrived at their destination at this time, so Beiki simply didn't say anything. Since Beiki and Baiyao rarely come to their own store with Bai Yu. Therefore, Beiki and Baiyao know the location of their own store. The employees in the store don't know what Beiki and Baiyao look like. They have only heard of them, but never seen them. I have to say that the service attitude of Bai Yu's employees is really good. They didn't judge people by appearance, nor did they look down on Beiki and Baiyao because they were children. Instead, they received the two of them very friendly. After Beiki and Baiyao bought the precious handbags, they left in a hurry. Then I wanted to go to the fresh food market. It was also opened by Bai Yu. However, the staff in the store registered Beiki as a member because he bought a rare handbag. When they saw the family address and recalled the bank card that Beiki had swiped, they were shocked and stunned. After a long time, the staff said silently, "Young master." When they came to the fresh food market, Beiki recalled the food that Uchiha Raizumi ate yesterday and then recalled the process of her eating. She likes to eat vegetables very much. When she eats meat, there are beef, pork, and chicken in the lunchbox. When she eats chicken, she smiles a little, proving that she should like to eat chicken. Judging from the color of the beef, it should be leftovers, and the pork was picked up by herself. The chicken should be chicken thigh meat. The second layer of the lunchbox is 2 desserts. It seems that Uchiha Raizumi should like dessert after dinner. Baiyao looked at Beiki, who kept buying things and putting them into his handbag, and couldn't help but be stunned. Brother, do you know what Izumi likes to eat? You just buy it like this. Baiyao poked Beiki and asked weakly. Baiyao didn't want to discourage Beiki's enthusiasm, but she didn't want Beiki to spend money in vain. Beiki was stunned for a moment, and then he and Baiyao carefully analyzed how Uchiha Raizumi looked when she was eating yesterday, what she ate, what different changes on her face, whether this change was like or dislike, etc. Baiyao's watery eyes widened when she heard this! Baiyao never expected that her brother, who seemed to be as wooden as a tree, was so thoughtful! However, Baiyao recalled the little things she had seen with Beiki since she was a child, and he was very thoughtful, but she had never noticed it. They were all family, so it was normal that she didn't notice it. Moreover, Beiki had spoiled Baiyao since she was a child. So Baiyao didn't say anything because there was no need. If her brother wasn't so straightforward, he would definitely be a scumbag. Sister, do you know where to buy 3 colors of meatballs in Konoha and the sticky beans? They are 2 desserts. After walking out of the fresh food supermarket, Beiki frowned and stood there for a while and asked Baiyao. I know, but you have to buy 4. Baiyao's eyes lit up and said, why 4? Beiki asked in a daze. You, me, Itachi, and Izumi sister. Baiyao said with a smile. Yoshi, let's go. Beiki said with a smile. Baiyao finally got interested and pulled Beiki to run quickly. This can't be bought in batches. Ingredients can be made with different flavors after purchase. Although the items in the handbag will not deteriorate or go bad, if you eat the same flavor of dessert every day, you will get sick sooner or later. So, Beiki and Baiyao bought 4 desserts and ran to school because if they didn't run, they would be late. Although they came out early, but they didn't have much time. But fortunately, the moment the bell rang, the two of them appeared in the classroom with a body flash technique. But this move surprised the whole class. It can be said that the classmates in the class were slightly shocked. just entering school. Even if you have practiced in advance, it is impossible to practice the body flash technique so proficiently. Because Beiki and Bai Yu did not come in with their hands in a seal, but came in casually and ran to their seats. Why are you here just now? Uchiha Izumi. What happened to you? Uchiha Itachi. The two said to Beiki and Bai Yu in unison. Beiki and Bai Yu were stunned and didn't know how to answer. Uchiha Izumi and Uchiha Itachi were also slightly stunned and smiled at each other in a friendly manner. Then Beiki and Uchiha Izumi chatted alone. Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi chatted alone, and then Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Izumi chatted. Beiki quietly took out 4 desserts from his treasured handbag. Bai Yu quickly handed 2 desserts to Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Izumi. Uchiha Itachi swallowed his saliva. Uchiha Izumi smiled and thanked him. Uchiha Itachi swallowed his saliva and also thanked Beiki. But at this moment, you 4, go out and stand. The teacher ordered. So, Beiki calmly put all the lunch boxes and desserts of the 4 people into his handbag. With his right hand, he quickly made a few strokes on the wristband on his left hand. Then he muttered a few spiritual words and put the handbag in. Because according to Beiki's habit of the teacher in front of him, he would not be able to go back to the classroom this morning. Then the 4 of them started chatting in the corridor. Their thinking is almost the same, their ages are almost the same, and their minds are almost the same. So they have a lot of common topics together. Soon, the whole morning passed. Crash. The classroom door was opened. However, the 4 people continued to chat without knowing it. The teacher who came out had a green face. Pointing at the 4 people, he said something unknown, snorted and left. The 4 people looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. After Beiki took out Uchiha Itachi and Bai Yu's lunch boxes and desserts, he pulled Uchiha Izumi to the grove. Ahem, they are going to give gifts. Beiki was excited to give a gift to Uchiha Izumi, so he held her hand from the teacher's door to the woods. There were so many classmates along the way, but Beiki didn't care about them. He only had one destination in mind, the woods. Uchiha Izumi was different. She blushed all the way. Seeing Beiki's look, she couldn't pull her hand away, so she let Beiki hold her hand. Izumi, hey, what's wrong with your face? Are you sick? Beiki was originally excited to tell Uchiha Izumi about the gift, but when he saw Uchiha Izumi's face, he immediately asked seriously, I'll take you to the infirmary. After saying that, Beiki was about to take Uchiha Izumi to the infirmary. Can you let go of your hand? Uchiha Izumi said embarrassedly. Haha. Beiki suddenly realized, touched the back of his head awkwardly, and smiled foolishly, not knowing what to say. Uchiha Izumi blushed, lowered his head, and didn't know what he was thinking. However, Uchiha Izumi found that she didn't mind Beiki holding her hand. Thinking of this, her face turned even redder. Chapter 212 Gift Giving. Well, Izumi, I have a gift for you. Beiki said quickly, trying to suppress the tension caused by his pounding heart. Beiki's words resolved the awkward atmosphere. What is it? Uchiha Izumi asked expectantly. She was looking forward to what kind of gift this immature and tender wood in front of her would give her. A handbag and this wristband. Beiki gestured on his arm quickly, as if he was offering a treasure, and then muttered a spiritual language. A wristband of the same style and a handbag suddenly appeared in his hand. This handbag contains the ingredients I bought. The bento you made yesterday smelled delicious. I have a big appetite, and I'm embarrassed to tell my mother. Can you please make an extra bento for me every day? Of course, this also includes your portion. After all, I'm very embarrassed to ask you. If the ingredients are gone in the future, I will replenish them. Beiki blushed and said hurriedly. Then he handed the handbag to Uchiha Izumi. Uchiha Izumi looked at Beiki, without saying a word, but with a smile on his face. Beiki saw that Uchiha Izumi didn't say anything, and he suddenly felt a little nervous. It was not because he was afraid that Uchiha Izumi would not accept the gift, but because he was afraid that Uchiha Izumi would misunderstand. Misunderstand that Beiki looked down on Uchiha Izumi. Misunderstand that Beiki pitied Uchiha Izumi. At this time, Uchiha Izumi saw Beiki's nervous expression and suddenly had some guesses. But his heart was warm. Beiki really used the right method. He used the reason of his large appetite to help Uchiha Izumi indirectly. This not only saved Uchiha Izumi's face, but also made Uchiha Izumi easier to accept. After all, Uchiha Izumi had to promise Baki to make a lunchbox for him every day. Okay. Then I will make a lunchbox for you every day from now on, Uchiha Izumi said with a slightly blushing face. After all, a girl cooks for a boy, and the girl's modesty makes Uchiha Izumi a little embarrassed. Well, there is also this. This is really amazing. Baki breathed a sigh of relief and quickly handed Uchiha Izumi a wristband to change the topic and dissipate the evil pink sweet breath. What is this? Uchiha Izumi did not blush, but asked curiously. This is a wristband made by my father, specially used to store ninja tools. Some ninjas will have a specially made ninja tool, but sometimes it is inconvenient to put it in the open, so my father developed this wristband. It is very convenient, and can be reused. Make a seal with one hand, and add a spiritual language. Others don't know how to break the curse on it. It's very safe. Baki boasted, like offering a treasure. He looked like he was asking for praise. Soon, Uchiha Izumi was fooled by Baki. No, explained, and soon understood the use of the wristband. He asked Baki for a shuriken, and mastered it, after operating it for a while. Thank you, Baki. I like your gift very much. After I graduate, and become a genin, I will also give you a gift. Uchiha Izumi couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Although she was in the Uchiha clan, it didn't mean that every member of the clan lived a wealthy life. Uchiha Izumi was like this. Her father died when she was just born, and her mother also had a difficult birth. I know her father died when the Nine Tails erupted, so I'll arrange it this way. Humph. Baki is not like Bai Yu who can sense other people's emotions at any time, nor is he like Bai Yu who can sense when a person is in a strong mood. But Baki is also very sensitive to a person's emotions. Seeing Uchiha Izumi's macro expressions, he knew that she should not be in a very good mood at this time. But he really liked his gift. Haha, I'm glad you like it, Izumi. Take out that lunchbox. I'm so hungry. It's in my handbag. Baki changed the subject very cleverly. Uchiha Izumi also diluted some of her sadness because of Baki's words and ate with Baki. Not long after, the two were talking and laughing again. Two flowers bloom, each showing its own beauty. Itachi, I'll give you a present. Look, a wristband. Baiyo and Uchiha Itachi sat on the rooftop of the teaching building because it was very quiet here. Originally, the two wanted to go to the grove, but when they thought of Baki and Uchiha Izumi, they went up to the rooftop. Baiyo and Uchiha Itachi chatted happily for a while, and then started to eat. But after eating for a while, Baiyo remembered something, and then gestured a few times at the position of the wristband on his wrist, and recited a spiritual language. He took out the wristband, and said to Uchiha Itachi with a smile, "What is this?" Uchiha Itachi asked puzzled. Some ninjas have their own exclusive ninja tools. In some occasions or places, it is not suitable to put their own ninja tools in the open. My father studied this. This wristband is specially for you, Baiyo said sweetly. Then Baiyo taught Uchiha Itachi how to use it. Uchiha Itachi took out a shuriken from his ninja tool bag, fiddled with it for a while, and it felt really good. He touched Baiyo's head and said with a smile, "Thank you, Joa, I like it very much. This is for you." Uchiha Itachi took out a necklace from his ninja tool bag and shook it in front of Baiyo. "I made this myself. I hope you like it." Uchiha Itachi's face turned slightly red, and his heart beat faster, but this boy pretended to be very calm. Apart from blushing, basically nothing can be seen. But whose daughter is Baiyo? The strong emotional fluctuations on Uchiha Itachi were clearly sensed by Baiyo. Baiyo was just immersed in the head patting, and now she was immersed in Itachi's panic. This necklace was made by Uchiha Itachi himself. It has been made for a long time, and it was specially intended to be given to Baiyo, but there has never been a suitable opportunity. Now, it's good, and there is finally a chance. Put it on for me, Baiyo said and turned her back to Uchiha Itachi. The moment she turned around, Baiyo's face quickly became hot. Uchiha Itachi's little heart was also thumping. The necklace is not the kind of rope, but the chain type like the modern ones. However, it can be seen from the buckle that Uchiha Itachi is actually very careful, and he has rounded all the edges that can scratch the skin. He carefully put the necklace on Bai Yu. A simple chat eased the sweet pink atmosphere, and then continued to eat. Just when the four people were warming up, they didn't know that there was a pair of eyes in the sky, watching everything. The owner of this pair of eyes is Bai Yu. Bai Yu stood with his hands behind his back, high in the sky, eagle-like eyes, observing Baki and Bai Yu back and forth. But more attention was on Bai Yu. Boys will never suffer a loss, but girls are different. They will suffer a loss. Uchiha Itachi's performance made Bai Yu nod slightly. He is still a good boy. But why does Uchiha Itachi feel a little too cold? And Uchiha Mise is a quiet person? But after getting married, he has become much more stable. As for Uchiha Fugaku, well, that's right. The current Uchiha Fugaku is really not as young and frivolous as when he proposed to her and sang. Suddenly, Bai Yu's eyes suddenly focused on a place 20 miles east of Konoha village. There was a familiar malice there. Chapter 213 Uzumaki Naruto. White Zetsu. Bai Yu gritted his teeth and spat out 2 words, then rushed over at high speed. In the blink of an eye, Bai Yu came to the place where Baizetsu was sensed. But Baizetsu ran away. Bai Yu was so angry that he kicked a big tree and flew back to Konoha village. But he didn't know that in a hidden corner, a dark guy was watching all this. This dark guy is Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu's right foot began to turn white, and then turned into a black and white man. That is Zetsu. And behind Zetsu was a guy wearing a black dress and a red cloud cloak. White skin, bald head, bright red Sharingan, and a smile that he thought was very gentlemanly. Is this guy the famous Konoha death god Bai Yu? Uchiha Shin said with a smile. Don't underestimate him. This guy is very powerful and a terrible opponent. White Zetsu said with a big mouth. In my eyes, only the Uchiha clan is worthy of being my opponent. Uchiha Shin's eyes flashed with disdain for Bai Yu. No wonder Bai Yu couldn't sense Uchiha Shin. It turned out that in Uchiha Shin's heart, Bai Yu was not taken seriously. He had no emotions at all, so he naturally didn't sense it. Okay, there is still a month left, and this operation cannot afford to fail. Uchiha Shin said coldly, and then his figure disappeared in this forest. Baizetsu grinned, while Heizetsu was gloomy and didn't speak. Then he disappeared into the woods. Time flies. The relationship between Baki and Uchiha Raizumi, Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi is heating up rapidly. Because Baki eats a lot at noon every day, Baki has become much stronger in a month. If he hadn't practiced base spearmanship every day, he would probably have been fed into a big fat man by Uchiha Raizumi. It has to be said that Uchiha Raizumi's craftsmanship is really excellent, but Baki will not tell Bai Yu and Uchiha Itachi that this is his happiness and he will not share it with others. Baki's spearmanship and Bai Yu's swordsmanship were also demonstrated in front of Uchiha Raizumi and Uchiha Itachi because the school's theoretical courses were over and they entered the courses of ninjutsu and hidden weapon physical skills. So the 4 people had a lot more training time. In order to make the practice less boring, the 4 people agreed to practice. Uchiha Itachi has a high talent for illusion and ninjutsu, so Uchiha Itachi's practice tends to be ninjutsu and illusion. Of course, hidden weapons are also a training content that Uchiha Itachi cannot fall behind. Especially when Baki practiced the physical skills that Bai Yu taught him. Uchiha Itachi also humbly learned from Baki. Of course, Baki also said that when he was on vacation, he could find Bai Yu to learn physical skills. This is all later. Uchiha Raizumi is different. She doesn't like fighting very much, so when she trains, she just trains according to the conventional training methods. She practices more of the medical knowledge that Bai Yu secretly taught her. These medical knowledge, Bai Yu is the eldest disciple of her mother. Where did Shizune get it? Today Shizune is the leading medical ninja in Konoha Hospital. However, Shizune is relatively low-key, so not many people know her. Of course, the reason why she followed them was to accompany Baki more, otherwise it would be better for her to hide in the room to practice medical ninjutsu. 2 flowers bloom, each showing its own beauty. Just when Baki and the other 4 were practicing happily, Konoha Ninja Village secretly made a big move. The reason is very simple. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, the wife of the Hokage, Kushina. It's time to give birth. In the afternoon, Namikaze Minato found Bai Yu. Bai Yu knew that the matter was serious. After saying hello to Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto, he followed Namikaze Minato to the secret place. The secret place is located in Konoha, in a wooden house on the edge. The Enbu ninjas patrolled around and selected several dragon group ninjas to ambush around. The entire preventive measure is divided into 4 layers and 1 core. The outermost layer, that is, the 4th layer, is the trap range pulled out by Uchiha Genji and the old dragon group 8 people. The 8 people are ambushing near the trap, just covering the outermost circle. The 3rd floor is the new 8 members of the dragon group, including Uchiha Shizu and others, except Nohararin. The 2nd floor is a very dense and sinister trap designed by the members of the dragon group, and the dragon group ninjas are ambushed around. The 1st floor is a lot of patrolling Enbu ninjas. The core is awesome. Hatake Tsukumo, Namikaze Minato, Bai Yu. But for safety reasons, Bai Yu chose to hide. Just in case of any emergency, Bai Yu can come forward to provide support in time. Kushina is in the center of the wooden house, and medical equipment is available. And in this wooden house, there are only Namikaze Minato and a female medical ninja. Nohararin, as an excellent medical master, will naturally be here. Not only does she have superb medical ninjutsu, but she also has strong strength, and she is a woman. Needless to say, she must be here. Time passed little by little, and the sky gradually darkened. Minato, I'm a little scared. Although Kushina is called Blood Red Pepper all day long, she is a woman after all. The reason why Kushina was afraid was because she was the Ninetales Jinchuriki. The Ninetales was becoming more and more active in Kushina's body day by day, and today it was more active every hour. Especially the evil chakra, which made Kushina feel powerless. In addition, she was a new mother. Although she had taken care of Beiki and Baiyao before, this was her first time giving birth. Namikaze Minato walked to Kushina with his signature smile, giving Kushina a sense of security. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Yeah. Kushina took Namikaze Minato's hand and felt much better. She smiled and responded. When it was completely dark, when the moon came out, Kushina's face suddenly twisted in pain. It hurt so much. Kushina didn't dare to shout loudly because of the pain, so she could only grit her teeth and shout softly, and more of it was a cry of pain. Kushina. Namikaze Minato said softly with heartache. At the same time, he held Kushina's hand tightly. His eyes were full of heartache and worry. As Kushina was about to give birth, Minato Namikaze felt more nervous than ever before, and his heart felt like it was beating the fastest in his life. Minato Namikaze was nervous because he was a father for the first time, and he was uneasy. At the same time, Bai Yu also became nervous. Hiding in the corner, his face became more serious. Finally, after Kushina cried out in pain for a long time, she successfully gave birth to a son. Kushina felt as if she had lost all her strength. She looked weakly at the child, who had just been cleaned by Nohararin. My child. Kushina said weakly. Nohararin wrapped the child skillfully and handed it to Minato Namikaze. Congratulations, Hokage-sama, it's a boy. Nohararin witnessed the birth of a little life with her own eyes, and that feeling was joy from the heart. Thank you. Minato Namikaze said to Nohararin with a smile, and hurried to Kushina's side, and put the child next to Kushina's head. Minato, what's the child's name? Kushina asked weakly. Haven't we discussed this? Namikaze Minato held Kushina's hand and said distressedly. Uzumaki Naruto? Kushina asked with a smile. Namikaze Minato smiled and nodded at Kushina. Kushina looked at the baby next to her head weakly and gave a loving smile. But at this moment, Chapter 214, Shocking Changes. Hey. A medical ninja on the side had a layer of black object on the right half of his body, and this object was smiling strangely. This black guy was Black Zetsu. This medical ninja was closest to Kushina. Black Zetsu controlled this medical ninja and quickly formed seals with both hands. When everyone reacted, it was too late. Kushina's painful expression seemed to be suppressing something. However, the wooden house was filled with a violent chakra in an instant. The strength of this chakra made the faces of the people present change. Then, Kushina began to transform into a tailed beast. It is better to say that it is constantly changing from the original appearance to the tailed beast appearance, rather than the beginning of the tailed beast transformation. Uzumaki Naruto on the side also cried. Namikaze Minato on the side used a body flash technique to come behind the medical ninja, and the three-pronged kunai in his hand was about to stab Black Zetsu. But it was too late. Black Zetsu suddenly turned into a puddle, merged into the ground, and disappeared. At this moment, Kushina screamed in pain, and then a series of chains quickly stretched out from Kushina's side and pierced into her abdomen. Bai Yu in the dark noticed the huge change in chakra. He couldn't help but start cursing. Then a body flash technique appeared in the wooden house. Seeing this scene, Bai Yu was so angry. It was a disaster. Such a strict deployment, but it came in. What is that disappearing breath? So obscure. Minato. What's going on? Bai Yu asked with a gloomy face. A guy appeared and lifted the seal on Kushina while I wasn't paying attention. Kushina is suppressing the nine tails in her body. However, it is estimated that she can't suppress it. If it was Kushina in normal circumstances, it would be possible with the sealing technique, but at this time, Namikaze Minato's face no longer had the smile of the past, and he said with a serious face, "Wait, I'll seal the nine tails tightly." Bai Yu said immediately after hearing it. "Isn't this simple? It's just sealing a tailed beast." Upon hearing this, Minato Namikaze's eyes lit up. Yes, Bai Yu is an expert in this area. Just when Bai Yu was about to roll up his sleeves and start a vigorous sealing activity, the situation suddenly changed again. Kushina's chains broke inch by inch, and then Kushina's already weak vitality weakened again, reaching a negligible point. But fortunately, it was not yet a life-threatening point. Bang! Kushina fell to the ground because of the broken chains. "Kushina!" Minato Namikaze shouted and quickly carried Kushina back to the bed. Bai Yu was so angry that he cursed again. Minato Namikaze saw Kushina's situation and his heart sank. Bai Yu didn't know what to do. For a while, the scene was extremely quiet, except for the crying of Uzumaki Naruto. "Hokage-sama. The Nine Tails." The Nine Tails suddenly appeared in the village. It is wreaking havoc. Lord Tsukumo has already gone to resist the Nine Tails. After a while, a ninja suddenly rushed in and said. Bai Yu frowned slightly. Something was wrong. "You, help me guard Kushina here. I'll go deal with the Nine Tails." Namikaze Minato said hurriedly. "Let me go. I'm good at sealing techniques. You know my strength. Leave the Nine Tails to me. Don't worry, I will never kill it. I will definitely not suck it. I have to keep my breath and suck it later." Bai Yu said seriously, but he was very excited in his heart. Bai Yu just thought this was a good opportunity, but he didn't know where the Nine Tails ran to. Now he finally has a chance. Bai Yu's unquestionable tone made Namikaze Minato ponder for a while. "Okay, the Nine Tails is in your hands. You." Namikaze Minato looked at the weak Kushina and said solemnly to Bai Yu. Bai Yu nodded, and when Bai Yu passed by the ninja who reported the news, he frowned slightly. But he didn't stop and walked straight out of the wooden house. "Everyone listen to me. From now on, defend the cabin tightly. Not even ninjas are allowed to come in. Also, all the ninjas of the Dragon Group, be on standby at the Dragon Group base at 8 o'clock the day after tomorrow morning. I will personally train you and let you go back to the furnace. People can sneak in here, isn't it shameful?" Fortunately, nothing serious. It's just that the nine-tailed fox ran out. Humph. As soon as Bai Yu went out, he activated the chakra in his body and shouted loudly. It can be called a human loudspeaker. All the ninjas of the Dragon Group, upon hearing Bai Yu's words, immediately looked up at the sky and silently thought in their hearts, "Come on, let me see this happy night sky more. Woo woo." After shouting, Bai Yu quickly flew to Konoha village. 2 flowers bloom, each showing its own beauty. Just as Bai Yu flew away, the wooden house changed drastically again. The ninja who originally reported the news took advantage of everyone's bad mood and meditation to launch an attack. First, he used the Windblade ninjutsu to hit Minato Namikaze, and then quickly attacked the nearby medical ninja. But this ninja is destined to be tragic. Minato Namikaze first used a spiral ball to resist the Windblade, and then quickly threw out a 3-pronged kunai to cover the space around the ninja. Successfully rescued the medical ninja. Then he fought with this ninja. "Who are you? What is your purpose?" Minato Namikaze's face was slightly gloomy. "Haha. You don't need to know who I am. Konoha is destined to be destroyed tonight. The strange words of this ninja made Minato Namikaze's heart sink again. Outside, after hearing Bai Yu's words, the ninjas who surrounded the wooden house tightly heard the sound of fighting inside, and they immediately became anxious. Especially the new and old 8 people of the dragon group. Bastard, aren't you putting eye drops on me? Inozuka Goa gritted his teeth and said fiercely, holding a ninja sword, kicking the door and going in. Hokage-sama, take a break. Come on, brothers, kill him. Inozuka Goa saw the battle with Namikaze Minato, and shouted to the back. Asterisk asterisk. Don't block the door. Uchiha Genji saw Inozuka Goa standing at the door and gesticulating, and kicked him, then drew the ninja sword behind him and rushed forward. For a while, the ninja who reported the news was in a bitter battle. Finally, the ninja couldn't stand the group fight. See you again, if we are destined. He left a sentence. It turned into a pool of white liquid, seeped into the ground, and disappeared. Oh my god. Melted? When did we become so cruel? Inozuka Goa held the sword in his left hand, and put his right hand on the back of his head, and said in confusion. Asterisk asterisk asterisk, asterisk asterisk. Hinata Asakawa couldn't help, but cursed Inozuka Goa. Asakawa, you old gouger. If you curse me again, do you believe that I will blow you up tonight? Inozuka Goa replied viciously. However, Uchiha Genji, who was standing by, was very keenly aware that Minato Namikaze, who had been looking at Kushina, looked unhappy. He quickly signaled to Inozuka Goa and Hyuga Asakawa. Although the two people were swearing at each other, they were not serious, it was just a daily habit. Seeing Minato Namikaze's state, he signaled and then left. He continued to surround the wooden house. Sorry, I was a little busy today, so the update was late. Chapter 215 Black Jew, Uchiha letter. Bai Yu was flying high in the sky, and suddenly, a familiar emotion was clearly captured by Bai Yu. Bai Yu. Bai Yu's eyes widened in anger, and the sage mode suddenly appeared. In the blink of an eye, a huge sword condensed in his hand. After the Bai Yu sword was broken into pieces by the black dragon Wushan, the new sword has not been made yet. Bai Yu turned into a purple lightning. He rushed directly from the air towards Bai Yu's position. The speed was so fast that it was like thunder. Boomses. A loud noise like a muffled thunder, mixed with the sound of breaking through the air. Bai Yu's attack fell on the ground in an instant. The attack on the ground did not decrease, and it went straight into the ground for 10 feet. Exclamation mark. Puchy. The sound of a sword piercing the body. I'll see if you die this time. Bai Yu roared. Then he picked it up. A white figure was picked up by Bai Yu into the air. It fell straight to the ground. A corpse with dilated pupils appeared on the ground. The white body was grinning. It was Bai Yu. Bai Yu came to Bai Yu. But what was not noticed was that before being pierced by the sword, Baizetsu had already dispersed spores, and in the nearby land, he also sent most of the chakra to the spores. Bai Yu spat at Baizetsu, then flew into the sky again, and then flew towards Konoha. The spore did not change at all. It just jumped occasionally. When Bai Yu arrived above Konoha, the originally prosperous Konoha village had now become a ruin to the east of the village. Fortunately, Hatesukumo arrived in time and led the Ninetales to the edge of the village, preventing the village from being further destroyed. But even so, the village to the east has already. However, in a ruin to the east of the village, Bai Yu saw a man wearing a black-red cloud cloak. The reason why Bai Yu noticed him was because of the Sharingan in this man's eyes. The Mangekyou Sharingan flowed in his eyes, proving that he was using his pupil power at this moment. And the tall Ninetales in the distance also had a shadow of the Mangekyou Sharingan in his eyes, exactly the same as this man. When Bai Yu saw this scene, he couldn't help but remember that the Sharingan can control the tailed beasts. And the man who once made him feel frustrated used to raise the Ninetales as a summoning beast. That was Uchiha Madara! Exclamation mark. Bai Yu quickly landed towards the position of this man. But after landing, Bai Yu found that there was a black guy standing next to him, just like Baizetsu, but this guy was black. If this guy hadn't looked at him, Bai Yu would definitely have neglected it. Bai Yu knew that it was impossible for a pair of floating eyes to appear out of thin air. Bai Yu looked carefully and found that there were contours around the eyes. Who are you? Bai Yu landed on the ground and asked coldly. When the pair of legendary Sharingan looked at Bai Yu, a BGM sounded. Refer to the BGM of the prophet in Naruto. Ha. My name is Uchiha, the pride of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha said slowly. Not to mention the arrogant, conceited, and arrogant posture. It really looks like the Uchiha clan. No, it looks like the Uchiha clan in the past. A sinister aura, but it has no effect on Bai Yu. Uchiha, I advise you to quickly release the control of the Nine Tails, so that I can still give you a quick death. Bai Yu said coldly. Ha 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 ha. You are Bai Yu, right? Your words are the funniest joke I have ever heard. Give me a quick death. Haha. Uchiha laughed crazily. What's your name? Bai Yu looked at Heizetsu and asked coldly. But Heizetsu did not speak. Looking at you like this, you look a lot like Heizetsu. You are so dark, you can't be called Heizetsu. Bai Yu looked at Heizetsu and said. Do you know Heizetsu? Heizetsu asked with a hoarse voice. I just killed that guy. Bai Yu said lightly. Oh. Haha, you must not have checked the surroundings carefully. That guy's not dead yet. Heizetsu said with a sneer. Heizetsu frowned. He had killed very quickly, and there was no residual breath or hidden emotions around. But Bai Yu did not speak. Heizetsu cloned silently. As long as the clone is not touched, there will be no inanimate characteristics. Black Zetsu said. You can kill as many of that guy as you want. Moon plan, huh? Black Zetsu thought silently in his heart. Bai Yu, join our plan. Don't you want to create a world of eternal peace? No war, no pain, no sadness. Black Zetsu said lightly. Ha. Isn't it the so-called moon plan? Bai Yu said disdainfully. Do you know this plan? Uchiha asked. Back then, Madara personally asked me to join. He also said a lot of flattering words to me. But, I'm so awesome. I even fought with him, and he must be dead. Bai Yu said arrogantly. Sure enough, I'm just a substitute, but I will let the world know that I, Uchiha, am the god of the world. I, Uchiha, am the real Uchiha clan. Uchiha thought arrogantly in his heart. It seems that you are not going to join us? Uchiha raised his head and looked at Bai Yu with contempt. A dead old man, a disgusting white guy, and a black guy. Plus you, a bald albino? What qualifications do you, a group of rare and exotic animals, have for me to join? Bai Yu sneered in disbelief. Damn it, I, Uchiha, am the most powerful Uchiha clan in the world. How dare you humiliate me like this? Uchiha's appearance is the point he cares about the most. Bai Yu happened to touch this point of his. This instantly ignited his inner anger. Still the most powerful, you are bragging, you really do it easily, without even a draft. Come on, no more words, show your true colors. Let me see your dancing. Dance, albinos. Bai Yu said arrogantly, and the sage mode suddenly appeared. Instantly, a crystal clear purple energy double-edged sword condensed in his hand. Humph. Uchiha snorted angrily. In his right arm, countless densely packed flying knives flew out instantly. These flying knives glowed with a cold metallic luster. They flew towards Bai Yu. Then Uchiha waved his left hand, and some huge rubble and some heavy objects in the ruins also smashed towards Bai Yu. Is the ability of the Sharingan to control objects? However, this ability cannot be fully enjoyed. Bai Yu thought to himself. Is this all the ability? Bai Yu shouted coldly. The energy double-edged sword in his hand instantly transformed into thousands of long swords, forming a sword formation to fight against the flying knives and heavy objects controlled by Uchiha. Uchiha saw that Bai Yu was very easy to fight against his flying knives and those heavy objects, frowned, and felt a sense of shame at the same time. The Sharingan flowing in Uchiha's left eye paused for 2 seconds, and then continued to rotate. However, this obscure pause allowed Uchiha to complete a pupil technique. Behind Bai Yu. Chapter 216 Akalanatha. Behind Bai Yu, a strange thing appeared. How to describe it? It was like a rag doll without hands, white, with only one big eye and a mouth. Oh, and 2 feet as big as the tip of a finger. This little monster, let's call him a one-eyed creature for now. The space in front of him was distorted. A miniature version of Uchiha appeared instantly, but this Uchiha had white hair, and was quite handsome. A fierce light flashed in the eyes of little Uchiha. He took out a scroll from behind, spread it on the ground, and quickly formed seals with both hands. Then he grabbed the scroll with his right hand. Instantly, a long chain-like ninja tool and a large wind demon shuriken ninja tool appeared. They came to Bai Yu from behind. Bai Yu's strength was the best in the ninja world, so he naturally felt the changes behind him. His eyes turned cold, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. It's really been a long time since I appeared in the ninja world, so some guys who overestimate their own abilities, come and try my Bai Yu's capacity. Very good. Bai Yu said in a cold voice. A purple electric light flashed through the eyes of Black Zetsu and Uchiha. A long sword condensed with purple chakra instantly appeared in Bai Yu's hand. With a terrifying sword energy, it was aimed at the little Uchiha behind him. Not only that, Bai Yu controlled the thousands of purple long swords that had already been differentiated to fight against Uchiha's flying knives. The offensive became more fierce, the long swords became more flexible and changeable, and the angles became more and more tricky. Come on, Uchiha, since Uchiha Madara chose you as the executor of his plan, let me, Bai Yu, see your capacity. Let me see if you are qualified to dance in front of me. At this time, Bai Yu really thought that Uchiha Madara's catchphrase was very good. Will is rampant, the best in the world. Arrogant. Uchiha's eyes were also full of anger. His figure also moved. He kept looking for metal in the ruins. Then he pressed it with his left hand. After a while, Uchiha's Sharingan slowed down a bit, and with a wave of his left hand, many iron pipes and metal objects emerged from the ruins and floated in the air. Then they twisted and gradually formed the shape of a metal arm. But the position of the hand became a metal blade, then rushed towards Bai Yu. Uchiha and little Uchiha cooperated to attack Bai Yu, and the one-eyed creature would shoot a kunai or other hidden weapons at Bai Yu from time to time. Desperate stare. Bai Yu shouted coldly, his eyes turned grey, staring at Uchiha. But Bai Yu underestimated Uchiha's inner obsession. Impossible. I, Uchiha, am the strongest Uchiha clan. The world I want has not yet been realized. How can I die? Impossible. Uchiha only paused for a moment and then returned to normal. Very good. Bai Yu did not waver in his mind because the pupil technique did not work. Instead, the belligerent factor hidden in Bai Yu's body boiled a little. Then let me show you the capital that Bai Yu has to stand in this world. Bai Yu said inwardly. Bai Yu did not choose a fairy technique with super strong attack power, because this is not a battlefield, but Konoha village. If the fairy technique is released, I'm afraid that the loss of Konoha village will rise again, and many innocent people will die unjustly because of Bai Yu's fairy technique. And the talisman technique and the divine spell technique cannot cause any substantial damage to a ninja of Uchiha's level. The purple longsword in Bai Yu's hand, which was originally emitting a halo and energy fluctuations, faded with the strong murderous aura in Bai Yu's eyes, and the color became almost lusterless, and the energy fluctuations disappeared. At first glance, it was a purple weapon. Chakra is more condensed. Instinct body technique and inch force, as well as the national art condensed from the wisdom of the great country in the previous life for thousands of years. In this world, Bai Yu is second, and no one dares to claim the first. Weird body skills, accompanied by endless mysteries, combined with cutting-edge swordsmanship. Under Bai Yu's continuous offensive, Uchiha was suppressed and struggled to hold on. His face turned from white to iron blue. Bai Yu is not only powerful, but also fast. After all, the martial arts in the world can only be broken by speed. Moreover, the sword energy emitted by Bai Yu is extremely sharp. In addition, Bai Yu's perception of the power of yin and yang is increasing day by day, and the sword energy is invisible with the effects of penetration and erosion. Very good. Bai Yu, you are worthy of being called the death god of Konoha. Uchiha's eyes flashed with fierceness. After a fierce fight with Bai Yu, he took advantage of this moment to jump out of the battle circle and said coldly, do you still need to say it? You, Uchiha, are not worthy of dancing in front of me, Bai Yu. Bai Yu responded disdainfully. Humph, a net of heaven and earth. Uchiha snorted coldly and roared. The one-eyed creature was distorted again, and this time the distortion lasted for a long time. Moreover, the blade that originally separated from Bai Yu into thousands of purple longswords to fight against him flew back to the surroundings of Uchiha. Seeing this, Bai Yu also recalled thousands of sword shadows and merged them with the long sword in his hand. For a moment, the long sword in his hand solidified a little. In an instant, countless Uchiha blades enveloped Bai Yu. Sword formation. Surround. Uchiha shouted coldly. Looking at the blades flying around him quickly, Bai Yu stood with his head held high, his face full of disdain. His left hand naturally dropped, his right hand made a sword flower, and the long sword pointed to the ground in a chic manner. Trash, since you made me a little excited, I'll let you dance for a while, Bai Yu said arrogantly. Sword formation. Attack. Uchiha heard Bai Yu's words, and his face turned from white to iron blue again. Roared. The king of Mingwang, the lord of the 5 Mingwangs. Akalanatha. Buddha is the way, and there are 3,000 great ways, and they will eventually be connected. At this moment, Bai Yu's spiritual power, accompanied by the mysterious power of yin and yang, reaching the sky. Bai Yu realized. Golden brilliance surrounded Bai Yu. Waves of compassion emanated from Bai Yu, and a sound of Buddhist chanting sounded. A shadow of a Buddha statue enveloped Bai Yu. The blades, like a meat grinder, attacked Bai Yu, but were all intercepted by the shadow of the Buddha statue. At the same time, the abbot of the fire temple, as well as some monks with profound Buddhist nature, looked in the direction of Konoha. Their eyes changed, their hands clasped together, and bowed towards the distance. The blade was intercepted by the shadow, making a sound of metal collision that made teeth ache. This is impossible. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Uchiha saw the scene in front of him and exclaimed in disbelief. Black Zetsu, who was standing aside, saw the shadow of the Buddha statue on Bai Yu, and his eyes also changed. Is this the fire temple's welcoming, 1,000 hands killing? No, the form of the technique is a little different. Is this also the secret technique of the fire temple? Bai Yu's move made Black Zetsu feel a little uneasy. Bai Yu will definitely become an obstacle to the plan. Black Zetsu thought to himself. Seeing this, Uchiha secretly hated it in his heart. However, Black Zetsu had already given Uchiha a veiled gesture, telling Uchiha to retreat. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Uchiha Fugaku Sharingan. Uchiha knew that he couldn't do anything to Bai Yu, so he controlled the one-eyed creature to escape quickly. Only a voice was left. Very good. Konoha Death God. I'll remember your name. One day, my Uchiha's strongest will. How can you be so powerful? If you have the ability, keep fighting. Trash. Bai Yu cursed roughly, and then slashed a sword energy towards the position where the space was distorted and not dissipated. Ah! A faint scream in the dark came into Bai Yu's ears. TSK. Trash. Bai Yu retracted the long sword in his hand, fading away from the sage mode. Looking at the nine-tailed fox in the distance, with its claws and teeth bared, its mouth wide open, its sharp teeth exposed, extremely arrogant, and wantonly destroying. Haha. Power bank, I'm here. Bai Yu turned into a purple lightning with great excitement, and rushed over at the fastest speed in his life. Roar. The nine-tailed fox roared to the sky. Konoha. Damn. All damned. The nine-tailed fox roared. Then he condensed a tail beast ball and sprayed it at Hatake Tsukumo, who hurt it the most. Damn it. Hatake Tsukumo held the cold blade White Fang. His expression was extremely gloomy. With his ability, he could completely avoid the attack of the tail beast ball. But he couldn't, because behind Hatake Tsukumo were Konoha's ninjas, his compatriots, and behind them was the village. Although this is the edge of the village, it is not very far from the village. The Ninetails is the strongest among the tailed beasts, and the tailed beast ball condensed by the Ninetails is also the most powerful. Once this tailed beast ball attacks the village, it will definitely be as damaging to the village as an atomic bomb. Hatake Tsukumo's eyes have revealed his determination to die, and he is determined to block this tailed beast ball for the sake of the village. But at this moment, Lord Tsukumo, the four symbols talisman formation is ready. Please retreat quickly. A ninja shouted from a distance. Upon hearing this, Hatake Tsukumo, out of trust in his compatriots, did not hesitate and dodged to the side. While dodging, Bai Yu saw the ninja who had just called out was wearing the uniform of Lanteng technology. There was no doubt that this was definitely a ninja assigned to the Lanteng technology ceiling class. Although Hatake Tsukumo didn't know what the four symbols talisman array was, Hatake Tsukumo could be said to have unconditional trust in Bai Yu. At the moment Hatake Tsukumo dodged, the tailed beast ball could be said to have brushed past Hatake Tsukumo. The tailed beast ball flew a distance and was blocked by an invisible wall. Then, a shadow of Xuanwu appeared on this invisible wall. A flash of majesty flashed in Xuanwu's eyes. The tailed beast ball exploded instantly. Boom. With a loud bang. At the same time, in addition to the direction of Xuanwu, 3 shadows of Suzaku, Azure Dragon, and White Tiger suddenly appeared in the other 3 directions. The aftermath of the explosion was absorbed by the 4 shadows. A gleam of light flashed in Hatake Tsukumo's eyes. This talisman array is really amazing. Nerishikaku, Akimichi Choza, and Yamanaka Inoichi, who fought against the Ninetales together with Hatake Tsukumo, were also shocked. It was incredible that this barrier called the 4 symbols array was so powerful. This result unconsciously angered the Ninetales, but it also boosted the morale of the Konoha ninjas. After a simple pause, the battle continued to intensify. The Ninetales saw that his tailed beast ball had become a dud. The angry Ninetales condensed the tailed beast ball again. This time, the condensation time was very short and the power was much smaller, but at the same time, the firing rate was greatly increased. Uchiha Fugaku, who was also participating in the fight against the Ninetales, saw the looming Sharingan in the Ninetales' eyes, and his heart suddenly chilled. He never thought that there were other Uchiha clans besides Konoha. Moreover, they were so powerful that they could control the Ninetales. Thinking that he, Uchiha Fugaku, could only fight against the Ninetales, that's all! Uchiha Fugaku's mind was churning for a long time. He sighed deeply. I have to expose myself. I hope you can help the Uchiha clan. Although the Uchiha clan has turned over a new leaf, no matter how the Uchiha clan changes, it can never change the past of the Uchiha clan. As the head of the clan, Uchiha Fugaku has been in the circle of Konoha's high-level officials for several years. There are some things that Uchiha Fugaku knows very well. Uchiha Obito Sharingan, Uchiha Shizu Sharingan and Uchiha Itachi Sharingan have already made the high-level officials of Konoha begin to feel fearful. If his eyes appear in the eyes of the public, it will definitely not be a good thing for the Uchiha clan. To put it mildly, it will make everyone feel fearful. To put it seriously, the Uchiha clan will be supervised by the high-level officials of Konoha, and even secretly plan to eradicate the Uchiha clan's cutting-edge combat power. In fact, there are still some old guys hidden in Konoha, but it's just that Utatane Koharu and Mitokado N are jumping around too much. However, at this moment, Uchiha Fugaku had no selfish thoughts in his mind. He even had no thoughts other than protecting his homeland. Susanoo. The third form. This was the strongest form of Susanoo that Uchiha Fugaku could use so far. Add the Karasu Tengu armor to the original form of Susanoo. The warm pink and purple color gave the Uchiha clan, known for its coldness, a ray of sunshine. But it also added a bit of majesty to the Susanoo, which had lost some of its fear. When the Ninetales saw the sudden appearance of Susanoo, its eyes turned even redder. After roaring angrily for a few times, it roared towards the sky with murderous intent. Uchiha clan. Damn Uchiha clan. After so much time has passed, you still want to enslave me? Damn it. The Ninetales was filled with anger and began to run away. The tailed beast ball not only increased in power, but also in attack speed. Facing the violent storm, the ninjas of Konoha had no choice but to dodge. The huge pressure made the morale that had just been raised be suppressed. At this time, Uchiha Fugaku moved. Susanoo resisted a tailed beast ball and approached the Ninetales. Because the armor of Karasu Tengu, which was broken and cracked by the tailed beast ball, was quickly restored under the output of Uchiha Fugaku's desperate pupil power. The 10-fisted sword in Susanoo's hand slashed at the Ninetales fiercely. Die. All of you. The Ninetales sprayed a tailed beast ball at the 10-fisted sword, and then a claw was used to attack Susanoo. After Susanoo shattered the tailed beast ball, it retracted the 10-fisted sword and wrestled with the Ninetales, holding each other with both hands. No one could do anything to anyone. However, Hatake Tsukumo and Narashikaku on the side saw the Sharingan in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes and frowned deeply. Obviously, as the old pillar of Konoha, Konoha White Fang knows a lot. As for Narashikaku, the guy with the strongest brain, he analyzed a lot of things in this moment. Although the two thought of a lot of things, they still paid attention to the battle situation. Because, in their hearts, Uchiha Fugaku was not a threat at all. Moreover, they also believed in Uchiha Fugaku. In addition, the two of them had an idea in their hearts at the same time. No matter what the top leaders decided, they would definitely stand on the side of the Uchiha clan, because Uchiha Fugaku fought for the village. That's enough. Chapter 218 Uchiha Fugaku rises up. The Ninetales and the Susanoo released by Uchiha Fugaku wrestled for a long time, and the other ninjas were not idle either. They used all kinds of ninjutsu, as if they were free, and greeted the Ninetales. On the other side, our excellent sealing class began to arrange a large-scale sealing technique, intending to seal the Ninetales. However, the idea is beautiful, but the reality is skinny. Although the Ninetales is a tailed beast, its thoughts may be a little irritable, but its IQ is not low. Seeing that the sealing class began to arrange a large-scale sealing technique, can we not stop it? I saw a fierce light flash in the Ninetales' eyes. Roaring to the sky, the battle escalated again. The Ninetales of the Ninetales extended 9 heads of the Ninetales, and 9 tailed beast jades were brewing in its mouth. Seeing this posture, the ninjas' faces changed one after another. One of the tailed beast jades was directly given to the sealing class that worked hard to arrange the large-scale sealing technique, and a song was given to the ninjas of the sealing class. Although the residual power of the explosion was absorbed by the 4 symbols array, the real power was not absorbed. After the attack of a tailed beast jade, the original location of the seal class was left with only a broken earth pit, with scattered pieces of cloth and blood invading the soil. This is not over yet. 4 of the remaining 8 tailed beasts flew towards the surrounding ninjas. For a moment, it was like a volley of missiles within the 4 symbols array. The terrifying lethality of the Ninetales was unmistakable. From a distance, apart from the deafening sound and the shocking picture, there was no aftershock, nor was there any spreading lethality. All were blocked by the 4 symbols array. The remaining 4 tailed beast jades of the Ninetales, the 4 tails were wrapped around the back of Susanoo. Towards Susanoo, just stick to it, without shooting, and directly use the tail power extended by chakra to attack Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Fugaku is also a ruthless person. I saw Uchiha Fugaku roaring under the cover of Susanoo, looking at the Ninetales with murderous intent, and 2 bloodstains in his eyes. Exclamation mark. 4th form. Uchiha Fugaku shouted with a crazy look in his eyes. The half-body Susanoo instantly extended 2 legs. Uchiha Fugaku also rose to the position of Susanoo's chest. The pink and purple Susanoo was more majestic. Ha ha ha. Come on. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes were bleeding, but the heroic and crazy shouting made the surrounding Konoha ninjas sigh. Hatake Tsukumo's emotion was even deeper. As a veteran ninja, he never thought that the Uchiha clan could do so much for Konoha. Damn Uchiha clan. Go to hell. Kyuubi also shouted with endless murderous intent. Sword of Susanoo. Uchiha Fugaku was also inspired. Behind Susanoo, he stretched out an arm with a long sword in his hand. He chopped at the 4-tailed beast jades. HMPH. A trace of sinisterness and hostility flashed in Kyuubi's eyes. 2-tailed beast jades were seen meeting the sword of Susanoo. The remaining 2-tailed beast jades went around and hit Susanoo's back hard at the exact position of Uchiha Fugaku. Boom. 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 These tailed beast jades that attacked Uchiha Fugaku could be said to have been gathering. Because the tailed beast jades were not out of the control of the Ninetales. The power was extremely strong. The sound was like thunder, making the ears of the ninjas of Konoha buzz. The Ninetales and Susanoo were shrouded in a thick dust. It blocked everyone's sight. However, there were constant collision sounds in the dust. When the dust slowly dissipated, the scene directly pierced the hearts of the Konoha ninjas. Some female ninjas couldn't help but shed tears. The armor of Susanoo was covered with cracks, as if it would be shattered after a few more attacks, but even so, it was still stubbornly resisting. A part of the head of Susanoo disappeared, but in order to save his pupil power, Uchiha Fugaku did not choose to repair it, but just like this, persisting, as long as it is not broken, he can delay the Nine Tails for a while. The worst is Uchiha Fugaku. The main Jiki Sharingan that the Uchiha clan is proud of has begun to turn grey. This is a manifestation of excessive consumption of pupil power. Moreover, Uchiha Fugaku's face, neck, and collar have long been covered with blood from his eyes, and even the bright red of his collar has penetrated at a speed visible to the naked eye. It can be seen how much Uchiha Fugaku has consumed, and the Nine Tails is worthy of being the strongest tailed beast among the tailed beasts. Such a high intensity battle has persisted for so long, and it is still not in vain. It seems that it is still in its heyday, as if there is no consumption. The battle between the Nine Tails and the Susanoo released by Uchiha Fugaku continues. Although the ninjas of Konoha are shocked, they have not forgotten what they want to do. The ninjutsu is still to attack the Nine Tails for free, and the Nine Tails also swung the tailed beast bowl wildly, and the more they fought, the stronger the violent aura of the nine-tailed fox became. The more they fought, the braver they became. As for Uchiha Fugaku's Susanoo, the color faded a little, and it gradually became transparent from the original substance. However, the madness on Uchiha Fugaku's face became even stronger. I hope you can treat the Uchiha clan well," Uchiha Fugaku said in his heart, and then Uchiha Fugaku's left eye was half grey in an instant, and his vision had dropped to a certain critical point, which could be said to be half blind. This is the weakness of the Uchiha clan. Before the stage of the eternal Mangeki, excessive consumption of pupil power will affect vision, until it is completely blind. Susanoo once again became like substance. The pink and purple figure was so conspicuous in this night. The heroic posture of the battle deeply shocked every Konoha ninja, especially Uchiha Fugaku's bloody face, and his shoulders stained red with blood. If Uchiha Fugaku's face was not stained red with blood at this time, his face would be extremely pale and his lips would be as white as paper. Lord Fugaku, stop. You can't go on. At this time, someone in the Konoha ninja who was fighting against the Nine Tails shouted heartbreakingly, "Lord Fugaku, stop it. Lord Fugaku." That heartbreaking shout was not drowned out by the explosion of the ninjutsu, but triggered a collective shout from the Konoha ninjas. Haha. Since we, the Uchiha clan, got the help of Elder Bai Yu, we have realized the bond between people. We have realized the bond of love. Let me atone for the sins of the former Uchiha clan. I hope you can treat the Uchiha clan well in the future. Uchiha Fugaku did not mention the shadow of the Sharingan flashing in the eyes of the Nine Tails, because he knew that once he mentioned it, people would definitely be suspicious. Listening to Uchiha Fugaku's heroic vicissitudes and heartwarming words, the BGM sounded. The ninjas of Konoha seemed to be baptized by holy light, and their morale was unprecedentedly high. Master Fugaku, and we are here. Yes, let's fight the Nine Tails together. The Nine Tails saw that the ninja that was originally suppressed by it once again stood up. How could the Nine Tails be happy about this? The unhappy Nine Tails once again increased its violent aura. The attack power increased by several levels again. Chapter 219 The Consequences of Bai Yu's Appearance. Seeing Uchiha Fugaku fighting so hard, the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hisashi, who were also fighting against the Nine Tails, were also deeply moved. Yes, it was with the help of Bai Yu that his Hyuga clan got rid of the fate of the family. Only then did they live unscrupulously. The two brothers, Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hisashi, looked at each other and nodded firmly. They rushed towards the Nine Tails with a serious look. Baiyan. Open. Bagua Zanghushin. Duet. The two brothers, Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hisashi, opened their Byakugan and found a suitable angle and position. They directly used Bagua Zanghushin to knock down the Nine Tails with clever strength. The Nine Tails was stunned for a moment, and its huge body fell to the ground with a bang. This really made the Konoha ninjas shout endlessly. Uchiha Fugaku did not hesitate. As the head of the clan, he easily seized this opportunity. The sharp sword of Susanoo slashed towards the neck of the Nine Tails with a sound of breaking through the air. Damn it. All of you die. The Nine Tails is a beast. The strongest of the tailed beasts. The Ninetales' eyes were full of ferocity. Chakra was boiling around the Ninetales. In an instant, the Ninetales used chakra to transform into two arms, leaned forward, and dodged Uchiha Fugaku's attack, while also attacking the two brothers, Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hisashi. My life is over. Although Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hisashi are strong and their combat power cannot be ignored, they do not have the power of Susanoo like Uchiha Fugaku. The two brothers had a will to die in their hearts and slowly closed their eyes. However, there was no feeling of being hit as imagined, and there was no pain. They only felt a strong impact, which made their faces hurt. The two brothers opened their eyes in confusion, and the scene in front of them stunned the two brothers. BGM sounded. Dressed in white, with a soft purple glow all over his body, he stood with his left hand behind his back, and supported the tail of the Ninetales with his right hand. His long silver hair fluttered in the wind. His body stood tall and proud. Master Bai Yu. It's Master Bai Yu. Master Bai Yu is here. The Konoha ninjas began to boil. Exclamation mark. Yes, at the critical moment, Bai Yu finally arrived. For a moment, Uchiha Fugaku retracted Susanoo, and ran to the side panting. Hatake Tsukumo retracted White Fang, and ran to the side holding his sword, and posing as a watcher. The three of Ino, Shika and Chao were even more excessive. Nerishikaku slowly lit a cigarette. Yamanaka Inoichi looked at Bai Yu with a smile on his face, and Akimichi chose a retracted part of the multiplication technique, and took out the potato chips he always had. The four symbols talisman formation was withdrawn. Fortunately, the Konoha ninjas were still at their workstations, with serious expressions on their guard, to prevent any unexpected events, but they had no intention of taking action at all. I leave it to you. Hinata Hayashi and Hinata Hayashi said this, then quickly withdrew from the battle circle, hugged their arms, and looked at Bai Yu with a smile on their faces. This scene, even the nine-tailed fox was stunned. Bai Yu quickly looked around, took a deep breath, and then exhaled quickly. At this time, Bai Yu had the urge to curse in his heart. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Bai Yu looked around and shouted angrily. Hurry up, we will help you to scavenge. Hatake Tsukumo shouted. Yes, we will help you to scavenge. After the fight, show Fugaku, his eyes are full of blood. Don't go blind. Hinata Hayashi shouted in a rare nonsensical way. Hurry up. We are all tired of fighting. We can only help you to scavenge. Nerishikaku slowly exhaled a puff of smoke and shouted leisurely. Asterisk. Are you sick? It's really a careless friendship. What kind of play is it? Bai Yu cursed and raised his middle finger to all around with an unhappy face. In response to Bai Yu, nearly 100 people raised their middle fingers. TSK. Bai Yu curled his lips, and his figure slowly flew up. He came to the front of the nine-tailed fox. The nine-tailed fox was not stupid, and could feel the energy contained in Bai Yu's body, how terrifying it was. Moreover, as the strongest tailed beast among the tailed beasts, the nine-tailed fox's perception ability was not bad. Naturally, he could feel the various energies in Bai Yu's body. One was the power of blood and ki that made the nine-tailed fox afraid, which was the power of the dragon bloodline. The other was the energy hidden in Bai Yu's eyes, which was the power of yin and yang. The reason why blood and ki were still the power of bloodline was that the dragon body had not yet condensed. What surprised the nine-tailed fox the most was that the ability in Bai Yu's body was also natural energy like it, and it was even more pure. Although the nine-tailed fox was violent by nature and had a very bad temper, but he was not stupid. He had stayed in Kushina's body for so long, so he naturally knew Bai Yu's name. And the nine-tailed fox couldn't help but think of the man who beat him into a grandson. It's really hateful. There is no good person in Konoha. The nine-tailed fox looked at Bai Yu without hiding his fierceness. Oh my god, what's that look in your eyes? Bai Yu saw the nine-tailed fox's eyes and was even more unhappy. He couldn't help but said unhappily. Don't you know who I am? The nine-tailed fox was stunned by Bai Yu's attitude. In the nine-tailed fox's impression, except for those two men, the rest of the ninjas saw him with fear. But Bai Yu's eyes were not only without these, but very calm, and there was even impatience in them, but more excitement. What was he excited about? The nine-tailed fox was full of doubts. Nine-tailed fox? I heard that every tailed beast has a name. What's your name? The excitement in Bai Yu's eyes became more intense. Huh. You are not qualified to know. The nine-tailed fox was very arrogant and said in an extremely arrogant tone. Oh my god, you have a bad temper. Bai Yu said disdainfully. Damn it, you know this uncle, but you still have this attitude. You really deserve to die. The nine-tailed fox shouted at Bai Yu without hiding his murderous intent. Bai Yu turned into a purple lightning and flew into the air. Then, like a cannonball, he kicked at the head of the nine-tailed fox. Bang! You are quite arrogant. Bai Yu said disdainfully after kicking, feeling like Liu Huaqiang was possessed. Bang! You are quite arrogant. Bang! Who gave you the courage? Bang! Fish Liang. Roar. Originally, the nine-tailed fox was still afraid of Bai Yu. But after being kicked by Bai Yu, not only did he feel dizzy, a strong sense of shame rushed into the nine-tailed fox's heart. Furious, red eyes, tyrannical aura emerged. Sure. The nine-tailed fox slapped Bai Yu fiercely with one claw, and at the same time, the nine tails condensed the tailed beast Jade. Oh, the little cat is anxious. Hurry up and call twice. I will touch you, if I'm happy. Bai Yu stood upright in the air, his eyes full of love for his pet, and said to the nine-tailed fox. Hearing this, the nine-tailed fox was even more crazy. He wanted to tear Bai Yu to pieces immediately. However, the excitement in his eyes turned into excitement. Because in an instant, Bai Yu had an idea. That is to take the nine tails as his own, and make it his long-term tailed beast power bank. The nine tails is not only the strongest among the tailed beasts, but also, in terms of the richness of chakra, recovery speed and so on, the nine tails is a good baby. Nine tails, you are really my Bai Yu's good baby. Bai Yu thought with a surge in his heart. The nine tails saw Bai Yu's eyes suddenly change, and his heart skipped a beat. Chapter 220, The Proud and Tough Nine-Tailed Fox. Everyone go back to the village, and be on guard. The nine-tailed fox is in my hands. Bai Yu suppressed the excitement in his heart and shouted loudly. Why? I want to watch it again. Akimichi Chozo was eating potato chips like crazy. When he heard that he was not allowed to watch the show, he became unhappy instantly. Brother Sakumo, organize people to go back quickly. Things are not that simple. Shikaku, use your smart little head. Bai Yu was speechless. He did not respond to Akimichi Chozo's words, but shouted to Hatake Sakumo and Narashikaku. Hearing Bai Yu's words, Hatake Sakumo and Narashikaku's faces changed instantly. Hatake Sakumo's experience was there, so he naturally thought of some things. After a brief thought, Narashikaku instantly found some suspicious points about the nine-tailed fox's rampage. Then, together with Hatake Sakumo, he directed the next move. Bai Yu and Ninetails were facing each other, and after a casual glance, he quickly shouted, "Fuck, Uchiha Fugaku. What are you guys thinking?" He fainted. Sent him back to the village. Uchiha Fugaku, who was originally very tough, breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Bai Yu appear. He took a breath and relaxed his tense nerves. He fainted happily. There were ninjas who were paying attention to Uchiha Fugaku, but they all wanted to watch the battle between Bai Yu and Ninetails, so they accidentally ignored Uchiha Fugaku. The ninjas around Uchiha Fugaku blushed and quickly lifted Uchiha Fugaku and sent him back to the village. The reason why Bai Yu didn't rush to save Uchiha Fugaku was because he was in a coma due to excessive bleeding and excessive consumption. There was no life-threatening situation, unless Konoha was full of sand and didn't stop Uchiha Fugaku's bleeding. But Ninetails couldn't bear his desire to cause trouble. Seeing the little reptiles who had originally faced him with a gloomy face actually go back happily, the Ninetails was very angry, so several tailed beast jades were called over. The ninjas of Konoha only looked back and did what they had to do, as if the tailed beast jade had not been released to them. The reason they did this was because they trusted Bai Yu enough, and Bai Yu did not disappoint them. Bai Yu waved the first three swords in the air, and the tailed beast jade was instantly shattered by the powerful force. Everyone just felt that they were blown by the strong wind, and everyone looked back. It was really a beautiful firework. The people in the village also sighed when they saw the sky. However, the flowers bloomed in two different ways. Some were happy and some were worried. Fighting against the Ninetails, many ninjas were sacrificed, and the families of the sacrificed ninjas were in tears. and the 4 people, Uchiha Itachi, Beiki, Bai and Uchiha Izumi, who witnessed the Ninetales rampage and attack on the village, had solemn faces, staring blankly at the fireworks in the sky and the purple lightning flashing across. Seeing that his attack was blocked by Bai Yu, the nine-tailed fox also lost his mind. Yes, the nine-tailed fox did not need to hold back. His goal was to raze Konoha village to the ground, kill all the people in Konoha and vent his hatred. The man who once beat him like a dog. The man who once treated him like a dog. The woman who once enslaved him. He, the nine-tailed fox, wanted to kill them all! Exclamation mark. Although only one of the people that the nine-tailed fox hated survived so far, but it did not hinder the nine-tailed fox's desire to massacre Konoha village. The nine-tailed fox's arrogant and violent personality exploded instantly. I don't care if you are the god of death of Konoha or not. I don't care how strong you are. In my eyes, the nine-tailed fox, you are all garbage! Exclamation mark. I just want to do my best to destroy everything in front of me! Exclamation mark. After a series of battles, the nine-tailed fox was not consumed much at all. In terms of the recovery speed of chakra, who can surpass the tailed beast? Exclamation mark. Especially the nine-tailed fox. The blood-red eyes of the nine-tailed fox revealed a fierce light, that I'm invincible. The nine tails in his mouth condensed the tailed beast jade. Bai Yu's face changed slightly when he saw this scene. I'm sorry, my nine tails electric baby. Bai Yu was helpless. Although Bai Yu didn't want the nine tails to be beaten by him, he wanted the nine tails to be in full condition to welcome his absorption. Ahem. Welcome his conquest. No, welcome himself. Forget it. After Bai Yu thought about it for a while, flying kick. Kicked the nine tails in the chin. It must be said that in terms of speed, except for Minato Namikaze who can compete with Bai Yu, there is no one in the whole ninja world who is faster than Bai Yu. The nine tails can't do it either. Bang. Bai Yu's kick contained the blood power of the dragon clan in his body. The nine tails opened its mouth and was kicked closed in an instant, and then the whole body of the nine tails actually floated up from the ground. Bang, bang, bang. Bai Yu kicked the nine tails hard, one kick after another, and kicked it far away. It felt that this place was very far away from Konoha village, and Bai Yu gave up. Hey, Jiuwei, what's your name? Bai Yu asked the confused Jiuwei. Who are you? How can you be so strong? Jiuwei looked at Bai Yu with a mist in his eyes, and there was nothing he could do. Who made Bai Yu kick so accurately? Not only accurate, but also fierce. He kicked in the same place every time. Jiuwei felt his jaw was about to drop as he spoke. My name is Bai Yu. My name is Bai Yu. My name is Bai Yu. I say important things 3 times. Jiuwei, I tell you, my patience is limited. Don't challenge my patience again. What's your name? Bai Yu was upset when he saw Jiuwei was a little bit unreasonable. Don't look at you for your resistance, thick blood, and high attack power. But in my eyes, Bai Yu, you are just a super shadow level player who is almost at the 6th path level. Bai Yu said unhappily. My name is Jiuwei. Jiuwei saw Bai Yu's appearance and didn't understand his current position at all. His tsundere disease came back again. He sat on the ground with his butt, hugged his chest with his hands, and raised his head to the left and up. Extremely arrogant. Are you used to living in a harmonious society? Bai Yu said unhappily, with a gloomy face, rising to the height of Jiuwei's head. Humph. Jiuwei snorted disdainfully, thinking that he couldn't die anyway, and at most he would wait for a few years to be resurrected. However, the following development made Jiuwei want to die but couldn't. Immortal technique. Heaven and Earth Thunder Prison. Bai Yu was furious when he saw Jiuwei's appearance. Without saying anything else, he waved his hand and used an immortal technique to control Jiuwei. The strong paralysis made Jiuwei look at Bai Yu with fierce eyes, and he couldn't speak. But there was another advantage, that is, his jaw didn't hurt anymore. It seems that I want to know what your name is, Jiuwei. Among so many tailed beasts, you are the toughest one. Really? You are real steel. Good, very good. Then don't blame me for being rude. I wanted to treat you gently. It seems that it is impossible. Bai Yu said lightly. When Jiuwei saw Bai Yu's calm face and cold tone, he suddenly felt a bad rush in his heart. Chapter 221 Jiu Lama's Confusion. At this time, Bai Yu's heart began to get excited, and his eyes were full of pupil power. Like silk, it slowly wrapped around the nine-tailed fox. Power bank. Haha. Kang Muang. Bai Yu couldn't help but shout excitedly. Bai Yu's sudden shout scared the nine-tailed fox. Then the nine-tailed fox felt that he had no other feeling except numbness, and looked at Bai Yu with disdain. But at this time, Bai Yu had closed his eyes and began to enjoy the joy of his rapid cultivation. The bored nine-tailed fox looked at the dark purple lightning net around him, thinking about how to escape the clutches of the devil in front of him. After a while, the nine-tailed fox felt that his body was a little weak. The numbness affected the nine-tailed fox's perception, and the feeling of the rapid loss of chakra was covered up. At this time, Bai Yu, feeling the improvement of his cultivation, the danshin in his body, was gradually getting bigger, from the original bean size, gradually becoming as big as the belly of a finger. Feeling the chakra in his body rushing through the meridians, suddenly, Bai Yu noticed that there was something strange in his bones. Bai Yu hurriedly checked carefully. Bai Yu was surprised to find that the nine-tailed chakra that had not been tempered by the Dharma Eyes space could help temper the bones. This time, the nine-tailed chakra flowed faster. Originally, tempering chakra still took time, and the nine-tailed chakra was absorbed slowly by Bai Yu. But bone tempering is a big deal. After the bone tempering is successful, the internal organs and skin are tempered. The dragon body is formed. At that time, the inner elixir condensed by the natural chakra, as well as the power of the blood and blood in the body, will transform into the inner elixir of mana and dragon power. However, the strength and mana are double advanced. Moreover, Bai Yu's yin and yang power talent will also appear. With Bai Yu's aggressive absorption, the huge body of the nine-tailed gradually shrank. Now the nine-tailed panicked. He wanted to shout but couldn't. The nine-tailed is the strongest one among the tailed beasts. Therefore, the fairy method released by Bai Yu, the Heaven and Earth Thunder Prison, can be said to be a super enhanced version. The nine-tailed can only temporarily put away his arrogance and look at Bai Yu pitifully. But Bai Yu, this guy, closed his eyes for enjoyment and couldn't see the current situation of the nine-tailed. It's not easy to deal with the nine-tailed fox. When has this guy ever looked at someone so pitifully? He was so tough. If he was killed in a battle, the nine-tailed fox would never look at Bai Yu so humbly. But being sucked to death was really too aggrieved. This kind of slow torture to death was too uncomfortable for the nine-tailed fox. Bai Yu opened his eyes until the nine-tailed fox was sucked to the size of a horse. He didn't see the nine-tailed fox. Fuck. Did this guy run away? Hey, that's not right. It's still absorbing. At this time, Bayashi was floating in the air, thinking that the nine-tailed fox was still so huge. But when Bai Yu lowered his head and thought, asterisk asterisk asterisk, Bai Yu cursed and quickly retracted his pupil power. This is because he still needs to absorb chakra. If he is killed, it will be a loss, and he will have to wait for several years to revive. The nine-tailed fox, who couldn't feel the chakra being absorbed, was instantly relieved, but looked at Bai Yu with resentment. Bai Yu didn't care, and dispersed the fairy method that trapped the nine-tailed fox. The numbness of Jiuwei gradually faded. Pa. You are quite arrogant. Pa. You don't say anything when I ask you. Pa. You can do it. Under Jiuwei's incredible eyes, Bai Yu slapped Jiuwei's face with his bare hands with a fierce look. Roar. Jiuwei roared angrily. Pa. What the hell are you yelling about? Bai Yu slapped Jiuwei's face and shouted unhappily. Did you ask? Jiuwei felt that today was the day he wanted to die the most. He thought that he had gotten rid of the seal and could kill people and take revenge. As a result, he met Bai Yu. In fact, Jiuwei knew in his heart that Bai Yu just didn't want to kill him. If Bai Yu wanted to kill him, Jiuwei, there would be no suspense at all. But Jiuwei felt deeply humiliated by Bai Yu's behavior of not asking anything and slapping his face wildly. Huh? Didn't I ask? Bai Yu frowned and asked in confusion. Yes, you didn't ask anything. Jiuwei shouted angrily. Pa. Did I ask you before? Pa. You tell me. Bai Yu's expression changed, and he started slapping his face like crazy again. My name is Kurama. Kurama. The Ninetales was so wronged. This was the first time in his life that he was insulted so badly. You say you hate it. The Ninetales also hates it, but what's the use of hating it? You can't beat it, and you can't scold it. The Ninetales was a little confused by Bai Yu's slap on the face, and he doubted his fox life. Kuruma? This name. Let me ask you something. Come, sit down. Bai Yu knew the Ninetale's name, then sat on the ground, patted the seat next to him and said. Kuruma wanted to be arrogant, but was afraid that Bai Yu would slap him on the face and humiliate him, so he sat next to Bai Yu obediently and didn't say anything. Kuruma, let me ask you, do you still want to be sealed in someone else's body and let the Jinchuriki control your power at will? Bai Yu stepped back comfortably and looked at the night sky. This is a dense forest, but the Ninetale's body was very huge before, and the surrounding trees were overwhelmed by the Ninetales. So a large area around is empty. There are only fallen trees all over the ground. When Bai Lama heard Bai Yu's question, his eyes were full of ferocity. He instantly recalled the days when he had no freedom. A long suppressed anger arose spontaneously. Bai Yu, who was standing aside, tilted his head and glanced at Bai Lama. He kicked Bai Lama hard. I'm asking you a question. Put away your resentful aura. Bai Yu said unhappily. Bai Lama was kicked by Bai Yu and restrained his aura, but after all, he had been sealed for so long, and it was not so easy to take back this anger that broke out. He was stunned by Bai Yu before, so he took it back. Of course I don't want to. Bai Lama said coldly. If you don't want to, you can, as long as you promise me to be my pet. Listen to me. Before Bai Yu finished speaking, Bai Lama's anger could not be controlled again. Regardless of the changes in Bai Lama's aura, Bai Yu said to himself, do you know why everyone hates you so much? Because you kill innocent people indiscriminately, because your power is feared by everyone, because some people know how to seal you and want to use your power for themselves. Bai Yu said lightly, you are still the same. Absorb my chakra. Bai Lama said coldly. However, Bai Lama was also very curious. He knew that ordinary people who absorbed his chakra would become unconscious and easily controlled by himself. Even if they got rid of their control and used their own power, they would become brutal and have their own tailed beast clothes. But Bai Yu was different. Yes, I also want to absorb your chakra. Moreover, I want to keep you by my side and absorb it every day. Bai Yu said with a smile. Humph. Humans are really the same. Bai Lama said disdainfully. But I'm different. I won't seal you. As long as you stay by my side, you can play as you like. As long as you don't kill innocent people indiscriminately and don't hurt others, I won't do anything to you and give you freedom. Of course, if someone deliberately hurts you, you can do whatever you want, whether to eat or kill. I won't care. Bai Yu said lightly. Logically, I don't need to ask you, because, with my strength, your life or death all depends on my thoughts. Even if I kill you, the worst that can happen is that I can wait for you to be resurrected and then kill you again. I ask you, because I now want to treat you as my partner and give you some respect. The reason why I just said that I treat you as a pet is because I want to absorb your chakra. Although it is very contradictory, this is what I think. I want to treat you as my partner, and I also want to absorb your chakra. Bai Yu said without any doubt. Chapter 222, the home is gone. Then you'd better kill me. I can't be someone else's pet. Bai Lama felt uncomfortable when he heard Bai Yu's words. Are you sure? Bai Yu sat up and said lightly. I'm sure. Bai Lama said arrogantly. I'm giving you face, right? Bai Yu's patience dropped to 0 in an instant. Kill me. Humph. Bai Lama said disdainfully. An hour later. Bai Yu had a smile on his face and sat on the back of the horse like nine-tailed fox. And Bai Lama had a trace of mist in his eyes and both sides of his face were swollen more than 3 times. He carried Bai Yu and rushed to Konoha village. It's not that the nine-tailed fox had a change of heart and was willing to become Bai Yu's pet because he thought Bai Yu was a good person. But Bai Yu was really cowardly. No one could do this. Bai Yu didn't kill the nine-tailed fox, but patted the nine-tailed fox's face very patiently and asked while beating, do you agree or not? The nine-tailed fox naturally couldn't agree, and a feeling of being insulted was in the nine-tailed fox's heart. The nine-tailed fox rejected Bai Yu very stubbornly. The nine-tailed fox fought back. Bai Yu would never give the nine-tails a chance. Before the tail beast ball could condense, Bai Yu had already exploded it and stuffed it directly into the nine-tails mouth. It exploded internally. Physical counterattack. Bai Yu's body was covered with a golden shadow. He allowed the nine-tails to attack him, and Bai Yu still calmly patted the nine-tails' face. The nine-tails wanted to kill himself? Haha, there was once someone who wanted to kill himself in front of Bai Yu, but now he is still alive and well. The nine-tails really cried out to the heavens and the earth for no response. In the end, the nine-tails collapsed. He cried. After Bai Yu's coercion and inducement, he still surrendered. What happened? Why is there suddenly no sound? Just now, there was still the fairy magic performed by Yu. Narushikaku stood at the door, watching the lightning net disappear for a long time, and secretly pondered in his heart. However, Narushikaku was not nervous because of the disappearance of the lightning net. Instead, he felt a little relieved. He believed that Bai Yu's strength could suppress and control the nine-tails. Just as Narushikaku was laughing easily, the next second, the cigarette in Narushikaku's mouth fell to the ground. His narrow eyes would have stared out if they were not blocked by his eye sockets. Hatake Tsukumo and others who were also beside Narushikaku also widened their eyes. The nine-tailed beast, like a big horse, ran towards the village madly. That speed was definitely several times faster than a 1,000-mile horse. Prepare for battle. Narushikaku shouted hurriedly when he saw this. All the ninjas suddenly looked bleak. Wait a minute. Hatake Tsukumo suddenly shouted at this time. Because Hatake Tsukumo vaguely saw Bai Yu sitting on the back of the nine-tailed beast with a comfortable face. Bai Yu saw that they were almost at the village, so he healed the nine-tailed beast's face from behind. We are almost at the village. After all, you are also the famous nine-tailed beast. Don't lose face because of your face. As my pet, Bai Yu, it's not good for my face. Bai Yu put his right hand on the back of the nine-tailed beast's head and released a ball of green chakra. After curing the swollen face of Kyuubi, he said seriously, "Thank you." Kyuubi regretted it right after he said it. Why should I thank him? Why? He was the one who slapped my face swollen. But even if it is true, so what? I can't beat him, I can't scold him, and I can't commit suicide. The fox life has come to an end. Kyuubi was still secretly sighing in his heart. You're welcome. Bai Yu's harmless smile made Kyuubi feel so uncomfortable. Well, in this case, I have no choice but to admit it. I just hope that he can be nicer to me in the future. Kyuubi thought to himself with grievance in his heart. Haha. Relax everyone. On Kyuubi's back is your Lord Bai Yu. Haha. Hatake Tsukumo laughed heartily and then shouted. Hearing this, Narushikaku and others looked closely. Smiles appeared on their faces. Then the Konoha ninjas burst into roars of victory in the battle. Lord Bai Yu is mighty. Lord Bai Yu. Roar. Kyuubi saw the little reptile he had defeated before, and his Tsunade disease was recovering, so he roared. Bang. Bai Yu slapped him hard on the head. Don't scream. Why are you screaming? Bai Yu said unhappily. Sorry, I just subdued it, and I didn't discipline it strictly. Haha. Bai Yu smiled and clasped his fists around. Thank you for your hard work, you. Hatake Tsukumo didn't care about Kyuubi at all, and walked over, and said with a smile. Then Narushikaku and others came over to talk to Bai Yu. Kyuubi was about to explode, but when he felt Bai Yu's unfriendly eyes, he didn't scream or shout, but just turned his head away with disdain. After chatting with everyone for a while. It's okay, Brother Tsukumo, hurry to the cabin, and take Kushina to Konoha Hospital, and Shikaku will also send Fugaku to Konoha Hospital. Bai Yu said to Hatake Tsukumo and Narushikaku. Okay, I'll go now. By the way, report to Lord Hokage. After Hatake Tsukumo finished speaking, he disappeared with the instant body technique. However, when Bai Yu heard Hatake Tsukumo say the word report, his eyes narrowed, but he didn't say anything, because he believed that Hatake Tsukumo would not take the opportunity to talk about the Sharingan that was faintly visible in the eyes of the Ninetales at the beginning. But even if he said it, it would not matter. It was not a favor, but it was his duty. Even if he said it, Hatake Tsukumo would not say anything nonsense. Fugaku has been lying in the Konoha hospital for a long time. But I'm sorry, that Tsunade was alarmed. Tsunade went to the hospital overnight. Fugaku was seriously injured. Without Tsunade, even if this guy could save his life, he would be too exhausted, and his foundation would be damaged. Narashikaku said helplessly. It's okay. It's good to let Tsunade busy occasionally. Otherwise it's not good to have children in her eyes all day long. Damn. My house is in the east. The Senju ancestral house is also in the east. Minato's house. Tsukumo's house. Suddenly, Bai Yu was stunned. Oh right. Beiki and Baiyao. And Makoto. How are they? Bai Yu jumped off the Ninetales, grabbed Narashikaku's shoulders and shook him while asking anxiously. Don't worry. It's okay. Let go. Listen to me. Narashikaku was almost shaken out of his soul by Bai Yu. He said helplessly. Hearing this, Bai Yu breathed a sigh of relief and let go of Narashikaku. As soon as the Ninetales appeared, we organized people to escape. Makoto, Beiki and Baiyao are now in the Uchiha clan. Don't worry. Tsunade was originally in the Uchiha clan, but was invited to the Konoha hospital. Narashikaku said helplessly. That's good. Bai Yu breathed a sigh of relief. If the house is gone, it can be rebuilt. If the things are gone, they can be bought again. But if something happens to a person, he can't come back. Well, not for the time being. Bai Yu is not yet able to wrestle with the person who is watching the Pure Land. Then Bai Yu looked at the Ninetales unkindly. Why are you looking at me? I didn't know before. Besides, I wasn't awake at that time. I didn't wake up until I was led out of the village. Kyuubi said hurriedly, fearing that Bai Yu would slap him in the face. Huh, you mean, you weren't awake before? Narashikaku is so smart, he thought of a lot at once. A thoughtful look flashed across his face, and he said softly, yes. I just knew that Kushina's seal was unlocked, and then I didn't know. Bai Yu came not long after I woke up. Kyuubi had just finished speaking. Darn. Call me big brother. Bai Yu knocked on Kyuubi's head and said unhappily. Big brother. Kyuubi said humiliatedly. Narashikaku's face showed a thoughtful look again. Chapter 223, Save Uchiha Fugaku. Bai Yu glared at the Ninetales fiercely, without saying anything, and walked towards the Konoha hospital with Narashikaku, who looked like he didn't know what he was thinking. When they arrived at the hospital, Narashikaku looked at Bai Yu and said calmly, You should have seen the guy from the Uchiha clan who controlled the Ninetales, right? I beat him away, a sand beater. Bai Yu said nonchalantly. But Bai Yu also admired Narashikaku's brain. What's the guy's name? Do you know his characteristics? Narashikaku said. His name is Uchiha. He should be from the Akatsuki organization, wearing a black-red cloud cloak, with a Manjiki Sharingan, the ability to control objects, can summon a single-eyed creature, has the ability to teleport objects. The single-eyed creature can teleport a person who is the same as Uchiha, but the physical characteristics are that of a teenager, and the weapon is an iron chain and a Fuma shuriken. There is also a white Zetsu and a black Zetsu, a white guy and a black guy. I don't know what the black one is capable of, but I know the white one, who is good at hiding, and basically can't be found. Bai Yu thought for a while and said, I feel that things are not simple. Narashikaku said in a deep voice. Uchiha Madara died alive, do you believe it? Bai Yu looked at Narashikaku and said seriously. What a joke. How is it possible? Narashikaku looked at Bai Yu for a while, and said with a smile. Haha. If you don't believe it, forget it. Let's go and see that kid Fugaku. Bai Yu did not continue to be serious, but put his arm around Narashikaku's shoulders and laughed. You stay here. Don't hurt anyone. Wait for me. If you dare to run, I will let you feel my love for you. Bai Yu threatened the Ninetales, and then walked into the hospital. The two walked to the intensive care unit. They pushed the door in with a giggle. Tsunade, Uchiha Missy, Uchiha Makoto, Uchiha Itachi, little Uchiha Sasuke, Beiki, Baiyao, little Baiying, little Baihao. 9 people, 18 pairs of eyes, all looked at the two people who were laughing with anger. The laughter of Bai Yu and Narashikaku also came to an abrupt end. Because if they are happy, they will be beaten up and cannot resist. Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto held Baiying and Baihao, walked to Bai Yu, pinched Bai Yu's weak waist, and glared at Narashikaku. Narashikaku touched his head awkwardly. Daddy, please save Uncle Fugaku. My ability is limited. I can only do this. Beiyo's eyes were slightly tired. It was Uchiha Itachi who stopped Beiyo. Otherwise Beiyo, this silly child, would definitely faint before he would stop. Tsunade told Beiyu about Uchiha Fugaku's condition after Beiyo's treatment. Beiyu touched Beiyo's head and then walked to Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Misaya was still silently shedding tears. Seeing Beiyu walking to his side, he stood up and said to Beiyu with a sob, "You, please save Fugaku. I have been friends with Fugaku for so many years, and I can still watch him and not care. Don't worry," Beiyu said proudly. "Thank you, you." Uchiha Misaya said quickly. "You're welcome," Beiyu said, looked at the nervous Uchiha Itachi and the slightly tired Beiyo, and smiled. Although Uchiha Misaya was very nervous about Uchiha Fugaku, she was careful and keenly caught Beiyu's eyes. Not only Uchiha Misaya, but Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto also caught it. The three women looked at each other, and from the exchange of eyes, the three women had some thoughts in their hearts. Beiyu used his chakra to explore Uchiha Fugaku's physical condition. After the investigation, Beiyu frowned slightly. The situation is terrible. Not to mention the damage to the tendons and veins. The body cells are not very active. In this battle, it can be said that Uchiha Fugaku lost 5 years of life. Moreover, under Beiyu's investigation, Uchiha Fugaku's Sharingan was overdrawn too seriously. There is not much pupil power left, and the vision is extremely poor. It can be said that he is blind. But the right eye is slightly better. Nearly a quarter of the blood has been lost. Beiyu sighed. This is very simple for him. However, Beiyu still needs to test the problem of the eyes, but he is also somewhat confident. After all, there is the matter of Uchiha Itachi in the past. Uchiha Itachi. Beiyu suddenly thought of Uchiha Itachi's blood limit disease, cell erosion, plus the extraction of chakra from the cells. Wait 2 days to study how to dilute the natural energy to the human body. Can calmly accept. Sort out a set of exercises. Let Uchiha Itachi practice. However, Beiyu's size scared Uchiha Misaya and Uchiha Itachi. "What's wrong, you?" Uchiha Misaya asked hurriedly. "Uncle Beiyu, is my father difficult to treat?" Uchiha Itachi also asked nervously. "No," Beiyu said puzzled. "No, why are you sighing? It's scary," Tsunade said unhappily. "No," I sighed. "I sighed because of Fugaku's injury. But it's very simple for me. Misunderstanding." Beiyu realized it and hurriedly explained. Only then did Uchiha Miya and Uchiha Itachi breathe a sigh of relief, and Beiyo also secretly breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Uchiha Itachi and said nothing. Beiyu focused his attention on Uchiha Fugaku again, mobilizing the energy in his body. He stretched out his right hand and condensed a ball of chakra as green as emerald. The chakra instantly enveloped Uchiha Fugaku. After being enveloped by the chakra, Uchiha Fugaku's face began to return to normal from a pale white like white paper, and finally exuded a healthy ruddy color. But this is not over yet. Beiyu's eyes were full of Dharma Eyes, and he grabbed with his left hand. The vitality between heaven and earth was plundered by Beiyu, and this grab was about 20 years of vitality. After being roughly integrated into Uchiha Fugaku's body by Beiyu, Uchiha Fugaku, who was originally a little vicissitudes, gradually became younger. But not too much younger. After all, where is the foundation? If he suddenly returns to 10 years old, it would be too abnormal. At this time, not only Beiki and Beiyo, but also Beiheo and Beiying focused their attention on Beiyu's left hand. As Beiyu's children, they can naturally sense the rich vitality. Especially Beiyo, who is particularly sensitive to this power. Of course, other people can't sense this vitality. Because of the baptism of vitality, the cells in Uchiha Fugaku's body began to become active again. Next is the highlight. Beiyu's left hand was placed on Uchiha Fugaku's forehead. The original vitality was instantly transformed into yin power. At this moment, everyone's attention was attracted to Beiyu's left hand. Beiyu first peeled off a trace of yin power and entered Uchiha Fugaku's eyes. As soon as the yin power entered Uchiha Fugaku's eyes, Beiyu was shocked. The yin power was instantly absorbed, not only filling a little pupil power, but also subtly improving the quality of Uchiha Fugaku's Sharingan. Although it was very small, it was only because Bai Yu input less yin power. Bai Yu was quite curious, so he input some more yin power. This time, Bai Yu was shocked again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Turbulence at the Hospital in Trance. Bai Yu was quite curious, and then input some more yin power. This time, Bai Yu was shocked again. I saw that Uchiha Fugaku's Sharingan had undergone a huge change with the output of yin power. On the original kaleidoscope pattern, blood-colored threads emerged, producing new patterns, which were even more weird and mysterious. The pupil power was filled again. However, it seemed that it could not be stopped. Once it stopped, the framework that had just formed in Uchiha Fugaku's Sharingan would collapse, and Bai Yu obviously had a premonition that, as long as he stopped outputting, his eyes might explode. Fortunately, the absorption was not very fast, and the amount was not much. It was just more time consuming. Slowly, the green chakra faded, leaving only the black yin power in the left hand, which was slowly outputting. Uchiha Missy and Uchiha Itachi were still paying close attention to Uchiha Fugaku's situation. Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto took care of these children. Unfortunately, the ward was large enough. Narashikaku was also paying close attention to Uchiha Fugaku's situation. 2 flowers bloomed, each showing its own beauty. Bai Yu was treating Uchiha Fugaku here, and there was quite a stir at the entrance of Konoha Hospital. Who asked Ninetales to squat at the entrance? Some families of the wounded and the families of the sacrifice ninjas knew that Ninetales was at the entrance of the hospital, and they came immediately after hearing the news. Ninetales had to suppress the anger in his heart and lie there. Being inexplicably controlled by someone had already made Ninetales furious. Who is Ninetales? The famous tailed beast. Which one is the strongest among the tailed beasts? Now let the reptiles in Ninetales' eyes watch. And the hateful eyes of people made Ninetales very uncomfortable. But people were afraid of the power of Ninetales, and dared not come forward. They just looked at Ninetales angrily. Ninetales closed his eyes, out of sight, out of mind. But Ninetales suddenly remembered the look in Bai Yu's eyes when he looked at Ninetales. He never had any resentment, although there was a look of aggression in it. Apart from this look, there was a kind of kindness. Even when he was controlled, he accidentally destroyed Bai Yu's home. There is no hatred towards the nine-tailed fox, let alone resentment. There is only the child who got into trouble, and the father looked at the child angrily. Of course, Bai Yu is the father and the nine-tailed fox is the child. Then, the memory of a humiliating face slapping flashed through the nine-tailed fox's mind, and the peace that the nine-tailed fox had just risen was instantly annihilated. But people are impulsive. A young man saw where the nine-tailed fox was lying, motionless, and his father had just died tragically because of the nine-tailed fox's riot. The uncontrollable anger in his heart aroused the young man's nerves. The young man couldn't help it. It's you. My father died tragically. The prosperous Konoha village was destroyed so badly. So many ninjas were sacrificed. It's all because of you. You deserve to die. The young man's eyes were red. 2 lines of tears flowed, and he shouted at the nine-tailed fox with hatred. This sentence resonated with everyone. In an instant, it ignited everyone's hatred, and a raging curse broke out at the entrance of the Konoha hospital. What's more, he picked up the stones beside him, and threw them at the nine-tailed fox. Without paying attention, the nine-tailed fox was hit. How proud the nine-tailed fox is. After being hit like this, his red eyes were wide open. Looking at the crowd in front of him who hated him, the murderer Sora could not be controlled. The cold breath swept the crowd. The people around him took 3 steps back in fear. However, the nine-tailed fox remembered that Bai Yu told him not to hurt people. Roar. He roared angrily and helplessly lay on the ground again. He suppressed his anger. However, the nine-tailed fox did not make any move, which made the crowd bolder. People started to attack the nine-tailed fox again. The nine-tailed fox had to support his chakra to cover himself and ignore it. The attacks of ordinary people naturally did not hurt the nine-tailed fox, but some ninjas whose friends were killed by the nine-tailed fox also came after hearing the news. This time, all kinds of ninjutsu attacked the nine-tailed fox. The offensive was fierce and the damage increased, making the nine-tailed fox unable to sit still again. After being sucked hard by Bai Yu, the chakra did not recover, and the cultivation level was also reduced a lot. It can be said that the nine-tailed fox at this time was the weakest in his life. The nine-tailed fox couldn't control his anger. Damn it. Damn humans. I'll kill you. The nine-tailed fox stood up, raised his proud head, and shouted angrily. The nine-tailed fox's roar, the people's shouting and cursing, and the sound of the ninjutsu bursting out, reached Bai Yu's ears. But Bai Yu couldn't leave at this time, because Uchiha Fugaku's absorption of yin power had not yet ended. Bai Yu hurriedly said to Narushikaku, "Shikaku, hurry down to stop the fight. The nine-tailed fox was beaten by me, and now his strength is only 1/10 of what it is. Now is his weakest time. Don't let his hatred for Konoha deepen. Don't let people's hatred for the nine-tailed fox deepen. The nine-tailed fox is the victim of all this. It's just that the nine-tailed fox is more arrogant and unwilling to explain." Narushikaku didn't say anything after hearing this, but came downstairs with a flash body technique. "Stop it." Narushikaku shouted with a serious face. But Narushikaku underestimated people's hatred for the nine-tailed fox. He also underestimated the resentment hidden in the nine-tailed fox at this time. The scene did not stop because of Narushikaku's shouting. It's even worse. Narushikaku is so anxious. Fighting is not his strong point, and the most important thing now is not fighting, but blocking the attacks from both sides. The nine-tails spits out a tailed beast ball towards the crowd. People all have expressions of being ready to die. Just when Narushikaku was about to resist, a yellow light appeared in the middle of the battle. Then a white knife light appeared on one side of the crowd. With the light retreating, Namikaze Minato and Hatake Tsukumo appeared in the middle. Hatake Tsukumo blocked the attack of the crowd. Namikaze Minato transferred the attack of the tailed beast ball to the air. A huge firework appeared in the sky. "Stop it. Namikaze Minato is still powerful." The situation was immediately controlled by Namikaze Minato. But the Ninetales would not give Namikaze Minato face. Seeing this, he wanted to condense the tailed beast ball again. "Ninetales, have you forgotten what Bai Yu said? Don't hurt people." Narushikaku hurriedly shouted at the Ninetales. "You are bullying me too much." The Ninetales shouted angrily again. The nine-tailed fox was so angry that he couldn't sit or stand. It was destroying the surrounding environment on the spot. Narushikaku walked to Minato Namikaze and told him what he learned from Bai Yu. Minato Namikaze frowned when he heard it. He immediately felt that something was wrong. He had heard Hatake Tsukumo's report before, and with Narushikaku's report, his thoughts became smooth in an instant. Uchiha, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, Black Red Cloud Cloak, Akatsuki. Minato Namikaze immediately had some thoughts in his mind and took a step forward. He said loudly, "Everyone, please listen to me. The nine-tailed fox is also a victim this time. According to the information I have, the nine-tailed fox was also controlled by someone and went berserk. So please give me some time, I will find out the truth." Minato Namikaze said sincerely to the crowd. Chapter 225, Saving Kushina. Namikaze Minato looked at the Ninetales who was venting his emotions and said with a complicated expression, "Ninetales, I know you are very angry and everyone doesn't know the whole story. Don't worry, I will find out the truth. You should calm down first, otherwise, when Bai Yu comes out later, who knows what will happen." Namikaze Minato knew that the Ninetales was subdued by Bai Yu. Through Narushikaku's report, he knew that the Ninetales was more afraid of Bai Yu now. Humph. When the Ninetales heard Bai Yu, the memory of humiliation flashed in his heart. He snorted proudly, then lay on the ground, closed his eyes, and said nothing. Seeing that the Ninetales' emotions were stable, Namikaze Minato organized the ninjas who came with him to evacuate the crowd, and then sent the unconscious Kushina and the wrapped Uzumaki Naruto to the hospital. The Ninetales was taken away just after the birth. Fortunately, it was Kushina's Uzumaki clan constitution, otherwise someone else would have died long ago. The fact that the tailed beast in the body was taken away was enough to make people choke. Then, under the leadership of Narushikaku, Minato Namikaze came to Uchiha Fugaku's ward. Minato Namikaze signaled everyone not to make a sound, fearing that it would affect Uchiha Fugaku's treatment. Everyone then refocused their attention on Bai Yu and Uchiha Fugaku. However, Minato Namikaze looked at the unconscious Uchiha Fugaku, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. Even if Hatake Tsukumo and Narushikaku didn't say that the Sharingan was looming in the eyes of the Ninetales before, someone else would have said it. Moreover, Narushikaku had just stated that the Ninetales was controlled. Moreover, the Akatsuki member named Uchiha Shin had to make Minato Namikaze consider a lot. After all, where is the Uchiha clan's criminal record? It's not that Minato Namikaze doesn't trust the Uchiha clan, but he is thinking about how the Konoha Uchiha clan can distance themselves from this incident. With such a long friendship with Bai Yu, Minato Namikaze also has a good relationship with the patriarchs of various families in the village. Moreover, Konoha is now united, just to live a better life. As the Hokage, Minato Namikaze is unwilling to cause any more trouble and destroy this harmonious atmosphere. After a long time, changes occurred in the ward. Bai Yu suddenly retracted his yin power. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes emitted black and red light. When the light faded, Uchiha Fugaku's eyes showed a more complex pattern of Mangekyou Sharingan. Through the incident with Uchiha Obito, Bai Yu knew that this was Uchiha Fugaku's Sharingan evolved into the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Of course, Bai Yu is not the only one who knows this situation. Minato Namikaze, Narushikaku, and Tsunade all know it. For a while, everyone's faces were different. Bai Yu was calm, Tsunade was looking at Bai Yu, and Narushikaku was looking at Uchiha Fugaku in thought. Although Minato Namikaze's face was relatively calm, no one noticed the serious hidden thoughts. However, Uchiha Fugaku consumed a lot after all, and when his eyes evolved successfully, he fainted again. "You, what's wrong?" Uchiha Missy asked hurriedly when she saw Uchiha Fugaku fainted again. "It's okay. He will wake up almost tomorrow. After all, he consumed too much energy today. Just take a rest," Bai Yu said with a smile. "Thank you for your hard work, Yu," Uchiha Missy said gratefully. "Thank you, Uncle Bai Yu," Uchiha Itachi also said respectfully. It's okay. It's okay. Tsunade, Makoto, you stay here with Missy. I'll go see Kushina." Bai Yu knew that Namikaze Minato would definitely talk to him about the Ninetales, so he said with a smile, "Okay." Tsunade nodded and said she knew Bai Yu's current status, and she would definitely have to talk to Namikaze Minato about this matter. Uchiha Missy did not speak, but smiled. After walking out of the ward with Minato Namikaze couldn't hold it anymore. His eyes were a little red, and he said to Bai Yu, although Kushina has the physique of the Uzumaki clan, she is breathing in less and out more now. It is probably because of the child that she is still hanging on. What do you think of her?" Before Minato Namikaze finished speaking, Bai Yu patted Minato Namikaze's shoulder. "Don't worry, I have seen Kushina before, but I didn't treat Kushina first, because I had time. But Uchiha Fugaku is different. His eye problem is very serious. Let's go. With me here, it's hard to die." Hatake Tsukumo is a good example, Bai Yu said with a smile. "Tsukumo-senpai?" Minato Namikaze was stunned. "He didn't tell you?" "Probably too. This guy committed seppuku in front of me. I saved him every time he cut himself, and I saved him every time when he was on the verge of death." "Haha." Bai Yu said meanly. "Haha. I didn't expect Senior Tsukumo to have this experience. No wonder he never mentioned what happened back then." Minato Namikaze's words also diluted some of his sadness. The two walked to Kushina's ward, where there were medical staff who were examining Kushina. Seeing Bai Yu coming, the medical staff left the ward very consciously. Because of Tsunade's matter, they all knew Bai Yu's ability. Bai Yu also smiled. "Minato, I'll treat Kushina right away." Bai Yu patted Minato Namikaze's shoulder and said with a smile, "Please. Hey, where are you going?" Minato Namikaze said gratefully and saw Bai Yu walking out with a bad face. He said quickly, "Hey, it's faded. You actually said please to me. I'll get a shovel to bury it for you. What else can I save? The brotherhood has faded." Bai Yu said pretending to be sad. "Okay, you, don't tease me, hurry up." Minato Namikaze said with a smile. Bai Yu smiled and walked to Kushina's side. "Use chakra to check." After checking, Bai Yu sighed. Kushina's condition is much better than Uchiha Fugaku's. It's because the birth damaged her foundation and the nine tails was pulled out of her body, which led to loss of life and cell damage. Is the situation very bad? When Minato Namikaze saw Bai Yu sighing, his heart instantly rose to his throat. Bai Yu saw that Minato Namikaze's eyes were a little red, and he slapped his head. He immediately thought of his sight just now, and had a misunderstanding. Bai Yu hurriedly explained. Minato Namikaze was relieved. Bai Yu condensed a ball of green chakra in his right hand, and then plundered the vitality between heaven and earth with his left hand. After a while, Kushina was cured. Bai Yu took back his chakra. Fortunately, I have fulfilled my mission. It's done. Tomorrow there will be a lively Kushina in front of you. Bai Yu exhaled, and said with a smile. Come to my house for dinner in 2 days. But why hasn't she woken up yet? Minato Namikaze said puzzledly. After you gave birth to the child, your lifespan and strength were also extracted. Do you think you can jump up after you are cured? Bai Yu said helplessly. Namikaze Minato smiled awkwardly. By the way, what are you going to do with the nine tails? Bai Yu asked. Well, the nine tails was sealed in Kushina's body because there was no other way. Since you can subdue the nine tails, I also believe that you can control the power of the nine tails. I'll listen to you. Namikaze Minato thought about it and said with a smile. Although Bai Yu thought so in his heart, after all, the nine tails belonged to someone else before. Hearing what Namikaze Minato said, Bai Yu was also happy in his heart, but Bai Yu did not show it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.